About 4 months ago, a post was made on the r/creepy subreddit. Found a bunch of these in the woods. What am I looking at? The OP said after finding one of these, he kept searching and found around 6 of these little pieces of paper with random ramblings on them just tied up in the middle of the woods. The OP did have a picture of the note, and it's exactly what they said. Very cryptic or nonsensical ramblings on little pieces of paper. The note is filled with cryptic messaging about all sorts of political issues. Pretty much every modern socio-political conspiracy theory gets a strange mention here. The problem is none of it makes any sense whatsoever. A lot of commenters on this post were quick to note how the most likely conclusion was someone's untreated intense schizophrenia. There is no code, it's only nonsense from someone who's gone too far down a rabbit hole who needs mental health assistance. Thankfully, our investigation won't end by taking some random Reddit's comments word. Someone posted a link to a Wikipedia page about this entire thing, and apparently it's some kind of small-time phenomena. The first instance of these papers showing up on the internet was in 2019, and the news reported it for the first time only a year later in 2020. The notes have been found all over northeastern and central Pennsylvania. Others have found them in the woods and on nature trails like the OP said. The strangest thing is these papers have been found in sealed products from grocery stores. Things like cereal boxes, candy wrappers, and makeup products have contained one of these little notes. The majority of these were found in products in grocery stores in Schuylkill, Pennsylvania, so many have come to dub these Schuylkill notes. I'd never heard of this phenomenon before finding this Reddit post, but it's been an ongoing concern for the citizens of Pennsylvania. Local, state, and federal investigations have been going on since December of 2023. The FDA has gotten involved as well, since these things have been appearing in products that are seemingly completely sealed. There is an entire subreddit dedicated to this phenomena, and as of writing, the most recent find was 2 days ago in a chocolate bar wrapper. I'm really at a loss for words on this one. I don't really have my own theory other than it's just some guy who makes these and carefully inserts them wherever he can, spooking the hell out of the residents of Schuylkill, Pennsylvania. Does he work at a packaging facility where he's somehow able to place these notes inside sealed packages without getting caught? Is there more than one person helping him out with this? There's no possible current theory that seems to explain this without there being blatant questions. This is definitely something I'm going to keep my eye on, and any further developments, this is definitely something I'd love to revisit if any new information happens to come to light. This next post comes from r/interesting as fuck. The post shows a Google Maps view of Los Angeles, California, and the strange help messages constructed on the ground. There's tons of these help messages strewn around made out of what looks like wood. These messages showed up on Google Maps pretty recently within the last month. Google Maps is not live, so it's unclear as to how long these have been here. Help isn't the only thing spelled out in this area either. If you look closely, you can see the words Tráfico, Terrorismo, FBI, Federal, and LAPD. Tráfico and terrorismo translate into traffic and terrorism, and these next to massive help signs have led people across the internet to panic and start theorizing on what all of this could mean. The first theory people sprang to was human trafficking. The area is pretty barren, and it looks like there's massive containers, which is not uncommon in human trafficking practices. A lot of people have also pointed out this massive hole in the ground that could allude to some sinister subterranean goings-on. With the help signs and the word traffic being accompanied with it as well, pleas for authorities to help have been taken, and the internet as a whole has been extremely concerned for the well-being of the person or people creating these messages. Luckily, I was able to find an article about this strange scenario. A guy named LA Guy on X interviewed some of the homeless population around the area, and a few of the folks mentioned a man named Jose who has been writing these messages for years.
And so I was filming because everybody wants to know why there's the help sign. You see all those helps?
Oh, is this one guy, he puts that.
Is that guy's name Jose?
Yes.
Okay, that's what they told me too.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, he puts it, that's supposedly human trafficking.
Yeah, human trafficking. That's what everybody's saying online, is that they're worried about it. Is it that, or is it like a prank? I guess
we don't know. I mean, he just always, for some reason, it's been years that he's been doing it.
Yeah, it's been on. Google Maps shows it.
Yeah, but we, really, I don't know.
Yeah.
He just always writes that down.
Yeah.
For what reason?
Yeah.
I do not know.
No.
As of writing this, Jose has not been questioned or found from what I could find. Another article I found was able to get into contact with local authorities. The property is private property owned by the Union Pacific Police Department. They said that these messages have been here for a year and that nothing of note was actually happening. It was just a man who trespassed and left these messages here. FaZe Clan of all people actually went to the site and live streamed the entire thing.
Yo, look, there's a giant one with pipes. Look, wait.
No, it says helping pipes. The big black lights. Bro. Yeah, look at the small one. The small one say right in. What's going on right now?
FaZe was approached by a truck that told them to get out and they were chased away by guard dogs.
You say come here? Yo. I ain't gonna lie, you got that gang.
Get out.
Say get out.
Say to get out.
Alright.
Back up.
Joe, you recorded and I'm coming out.
Oh, would there just be a Grand Cherokee? I don't know.
This is a fucking tour.
There's dogs. There's dogs. Hey, let out the dog. Run right.
I couldn't even begin to assume what's going on here. The evidence seems pretty easy to follow. A man by the name of Jose has been making these for a long time. As for what his reasoning is, I guess we might never know. It absolutely is possible that something a lot more nefarious is going on, but that gets into major conspiracy waters with the police being involved in something horrific like this. I saw a lot of theories on that original Reddit post that are worth mentioning, but are probably not our answer. One theory being it's a filming location for a movie or TV show, but with everything I've learned, I don't think that's the case. Another theory is basically the homeless population has been putting them in as some sort of statement of how one of the richest cities in the richest country in the world is letting their people rot and die in the streets like this. I think this is fairly likely what's going on here, but who knows, there could be something that goes even deeper than we think. For our next post, we have somebody that wants to figure out the story behind this image. My name is Nancy Thomas, I'm 96 years old and I'm looking for my son. Name, Donald Lee Thomas. Birth date, November 18th, 1954. Born, Crawfordsville, Indiana. Last known location, Atlanta, Georgia area. He was not given up for adoption. Please help me find my son. It has been over 10 years and I would love nothing more than to hear from him. I'm aging and my health is not the best. Please help me in my long search for Donald Lee. I love you. Donnie Lee Thomas. Mom. The image itself is really disheartening. An older woman declining in health begging to see her estranged son after all these years. From what I can see, the image originated on Facebook around 2013 and a widespread hunt began for Donald Lee. Luckily, I was able to find this Twitter post from around the same time. I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to share, comment, pray, leave words of encouragement. It means the world to my family. Today my mother got a call from a mystery man. That man found Uncle Donnie. My grandmother and mother spoke to him today. Again, thank you all. If it was not for you all, this would have not happened. I know a lot of you made phone calls, done searches, all on your own time. Just know your help made a mother, grandmother very happy as she was able to speak to her son today. Thank you all for everything. The Twitter post was from mid-2013, so if the timeline lines up, the hunt for Donald Lee was a swift one. This is really the only follow-up I could find. It's been over 10 years since this hunt began, and I wanted to see if I can find any further information on Nancy Thomas. After some digging, I found her find-a-grave. Nancy Johnson Thomas lived until 2018 at the age of 101, and it's so beautiful that she was able to reunite with her long-lost son before she passed. This is such a classic example of how powerful the internet can be as a force for good, and stories like these always manage to warm my heart. Next up is such a strange case, the mystery blanket. A Reddit user posted this strange blanket with a pattern that makes absolutely no sense. It supposedly tells some kind of story or is supposed to be some sort of teaching tool, but the entire internet and myself are dumbfounded at what kind of story would need to involve a phone, bread, and water. The panel that seems to trip everyone up is the one where water is poured onto the bread, or the one where it looks like two pieces of bacon are speaking on the phone. To me, this just reminds me of the strange liminal spaces of preschool, and this blanket looks like something 2-year-olds in a different dimension would use to learn about who knows what. My first instinct was just to reverse image search it to find some discourse on this oddity outside of this single Reddit thread, but it yielded no results. In the comments section for the Reddit post, the OP provided some more details. This blanket was found at a secondhand shop in Vacaville, California a few years ago and posted on a Facebook page I'm part of dedicated to weird thrift store items. I am not the person who posted it, but have been intrigued since. The person who took this photo doesn't possess it. She was creeped out by it and just took this picture. Observations. It is probably a glass of water, not jelly. It's blue. Jelly doesn't pour out like that. Tears? The bacon is the sandwich, but sideways, as you can tell by the same color as the crust of the bread. If it was bacon, it would be red like the lid. There is an X or minus or plus where the sandwich touches all three items: gate, mail and phone, envelope, microwave, oven, bed, or something else. Gate, fence, or waffle fry. From the top, I would say it's a gate. Also, there's a handle. Quilt inception. The phone has the same number of buttons as squares on the blanket. Some theories from Facebook users. A story started with blue-red from left to right, then brown. Still no actual meaning. Everything starting with P? Something to do with jail? What are your theories? I'm really at a loss here. This mystery is so normal yet so weird at the same time. Branching off of my joke of an interdimensional blanket for 2-year-olds, a lot of people share that same theory just without the dimension hopping part. That this blanket is used for teaching something. It's possible it's used for teaching about stages of matter, maybe bread is the solid, water is the liquid, and there's nothing that represents gas. I've seen some comments theorize it's just a needlework sampler to represent what people can do with needlework on quilts like this, but only God knows why they chose these to show off needlework skills. Here's my guess. It's a message. We should stick together like peanut butter and jelly. Here's how. Through phone, mail, or visiting. Fence. Some squares are components of the PB&J. Some are the forms of communication. And the rest are the communication and PB&J combined. Like we just showed, everyone in this Reddit thread has their own crackpot theories as to what this could be symbolizing, and there seems to be a common sentiment where the longer you look at it, the more it makes sense until one detail completely breaks it all apart again. This is a total debunk file nightmare, trying to figure out a pattern that just isn't there, and with nothing but Reddit theories, we are sort of backed into a corner here. Hope someone can come forward one day as to what this is so I can sleep easy and stop worrying about a cryptic quilt. Our next post comes from, of all places, the McDonald's employees subreddit. USA, I almost died in the freezer. I was on Fryer and we had run out of McCrispies and I went into the back to grab more, and 2 freezers in, I got trapped. I was in there for about 20 minutes and I was crying and having a panic attack because I couldn't get out. I was gone until people noticed I wasn't back at the Fryer, and I tried banging on the door, but there was no panic or emergency button. If it wasn't for one of my coworkers, I would have died in the freezer. Everyone please be careful when going into the freezers, and always have a device with you. I'm 17 and autistic, and I was all alone just waiting for someone to either find me or waiting for death. The freezer there was a death trap, and the only exit required a key, which I didn't have. On average, 60 people die a year from walk-in freezer incidents. This needs more awareness because it's the most terrifying thing I've ever went through. This is a horrifying story that gets under my skin because of just how mundane it was. I used to actually work in a grocery store with giant walk-in freezers, and this was something that was always in the back of my mind. It really helps in showing how these seemingly impossible accidents can genuinely happen to anybody. This was the end of this kid's story, but we're not done at all talking about this yet. The comments section under this post quickly devolved into a series of endless debates about basically everything surrounding the story. The top comments are for the most part normal, asking real, relevant questions about the story, such as, "You can't open the door from the inside? That's poorly designed." Some people mentioned that this could even be against safety regulations depending on where you live, encouraging the OP to do some research about local laws. One of the other top comments came from someone in Australia saying, "There's no bell? In Australia, walk-in fridges and freezers have a bell on the outside of the door that works from the inside. The occupational health and safety inspectors would make a huge deal out of a bell not working. They save lives. Under this thread, somebody replied saying, "In the US, all walk-in coolers or freezers are required to be openable from the inside, even while locked. OP is either making up the story or didn't realize you can open the door with a slight push." Of course, someone rightly pointed out that just because these things are required doesn't mean that they actually are, especially in a random McDonald's. The OP even chimed in saying that they were not making this up, mentioning that there was a white plastic gear looking thing that said, "You're not locked in," but I couldn't get it open. This was so traumatizing for me and my coworker saved my life. I have no reason to make this up. Despite this, of course, the arguing did not stop. People argued whether the OP could realistically sue for something like this, and things quickly got personal. Many people were quick to accuse the poster of making their autism their entire personality just because they mentioned it one time in a post. People continued to claim that this entire story was fake based off of their personal experiences, and people began arguing about whether you can call 911 without a signal or inside a walk-in freezer. This post and thread is not a mystery, it's more of a cautionary tale than anything. I'm sure that the OP never in a million years expected to end up in that situation, but unfortunately this post also shows you how you may be looked at for sharing something like this. Regardless of all of that, I applaud the OP for sharing it and am disheartened by what the reaction was to it. As this comment puts it best, "It doesn't matter what the post is, someone will find a way to tell you you are wrong." About 3 months ago, somebody posted this onto the RBI subreddit. "Terrifying film found at thrift store." The image can only be described as horrifying. I can't share the image itself here, but it shows a naked, bloody body laying at the corner of the room on the floor. For all intents and purposes, it looks like a real murder scene. With most of these types of posts, they end up being fake, but this did not at all look to be like one of those. Just a bit later, the OP came back with an update where things continued to feel more and more real. "Hello everyone, sorry, I'm on my phone, so I'm leaving an update as a comment. Here's what I did. When I saw the photo, I was curious and pointed it into a contrast area to look at it, and my body jolted because I was shocked. I didn't buy the Kodak carousel and just took the photo and went outside. I went to another store next door and called the non-emergency line describing what I saw and that I felt like it was a genuine photo. They told me they're sending an officer when available. She said she didn't have an ETA. The dispatch person told me if I can wait at the thrift store and I said yes. I'm waiting in my car as of now." Soon after this, a second update came in, this time explaining the origins for how the OP found this film strip to begin with. The officer arrived a bit after I posted the update. Him and I looked at the photo and basically he was just looking thoroughly and asked me where I found it and I just described where I found it. Then him and I walked into the thrift store and I showed him the exact box I found it in. He sent a photo of the film to a coworker and spoke to him on it. He then took down my information and told me that he's going to take it to the people who can properly process the image to investigate it. I basically told him how I just thought the carousel was cool, so I opened it to see the condition and I saw the photo and thought someone left a family photo, so I checked it and it was definitely not a family photo. I also gave him the time I found it, a minute before I took the photo. He then said if there's any more questions or things, he'll reach out to me, but he says it's unlikely since I just found the photo and don't know much about it. He then said thanks, that's all he needed, and then took the box and photo and then began to walk to the thrift store worker to ask questions, but I left. That's all I have so far, and if I'm being honest, I don't know if I will be getting an update from them since I'm sure it's hard to go off a film photo, and since I just stumbled upon it from chance and have no other information other than what I said. If there's anything, I'll be sure to update. After this, there was a few more updates, but nothing too major. Most notably though, they showed what the box looked like that contained the film strip to begin with, as well as a clearer photo of the film strip itself. The clearer photo really illustrates the true seriousness of the situation at hand, as this poster says, "This doesn't seem fake. If it is, it's really well done. Years of watching true crime TV with uncensored photos have prepared me for this moment. Good on you for calling the cops." Somebody in this thread asked if the whole thing was just this one photo, where the OP replied, yes. They mentioned that in this photo it was placed in the middle, which was how they found it. Since it seems pretty clear that this photo is in fact real, the main question to ask is, how did this photo find itself in this box, and why was it in the thrift store? For that, there are a few theories that have been made. The most grounded of these theories are that this could have been misplaced evidence for an old closed case. The picture appears like it was probably from the 80s, and the carousel, upon researching it, seems to be from 1986. On top of that, the OP mentioned that the picture was sticky, which is a sign of aging, helping even more to place this photo's origin likely in the 1980s. As a result, people have speculated if the carousel itself could have actually belonged to law enforcement in the past. If this is our answer, it would definitely be more relieving than the other theories, but it would be painfully ironic. The thought of local law enforcement tracing this image back to themselves and their previous flawed cleanup of an old case would not be a good look. Somebody who had actually found misplaced police evidence before chimed in saying, "I found a police digital camera once back in maybe 2013 on the street near my friend's house. It had a sticker, property of location police department on it, but I had to look. It had pics of crime scenes and evidence, a dead person in a recliner, and photos of pills and prescription pads. Another was a run-over mailbox with skid marks in the grass and the license plate of whoever crashed into it. Then the rest of it was the police department doing shots." I returned it to the police department, and the guy who took it was very gruff and annoyed and asking, "Where did you get this?" as if I stole it, when clearly one of their team accidentally dropped it. The next theory takes things in the polar opposite direction. What if the killer themselves planted this photo there? One of the other more grounded theories is close to the police misplacing theory, but not the same. This theory mentions the likely possibility that this carousel belonged to someone who taught classes related to crime scenes, and that the photo was accidentally left in the box. The main comment for this theory mentions once finding something very similar from a house clearance of somebody who taught criminology classes. This is genuinely one of the craziest mysteries I've found in a while, with no answer at all. Could this have just been a horrifying accident, or something truly sinister? Could it have been something completely different that we didn't mention at all? Who knows? I'd like to think that our answer lies more in the camp that this was some sort of horrifying freak accident, but we don't have any proof in any direction. Hopefully someday we'll find our answer for good. I'll be keeping watch on this post if it has any more updates in the future. If it ever gets solved, we'll be sure to revisit it again. With that, we have made it to the final post of the night, and this could really be the most demented of them all. In the Snapchat help subreddit, a very confused poster says, "Snapchat texting me bear?" As you can see by the screenshot one day, Snapchat Messenger just said bear. What does this mean? Bear. I don't know why, but this post made me laugh so much harder than it should have. I think it was just the bluntness of just the single word bear being repeated that got me. It's so strange, yet also the type of thing that I could totally see happening to me and genuinely weirding me out. The replies also clearly saw how funny this was. Bear 5 is coming for you. The bear is rapidly approaching. Each message signifies another kilometer lost. 2 weeks ago from writing this, a post titled, "Found this in my uncle's shed" was made. It comes accompanied with a photo of an open DVD case, with a photo and this very cryptic looking note. The OP gives us some kind of explanation. So a few months ago my uncle passed away. He was a heavy cigarette smoker, and he left this small lot with nothing but a shed on it to my dad. But you know how things are, and no one was really interested in what our uncle has, as he was pretty much a bum his entire life. The other day we finally went through it a little, and I found this note and a picture among other things. Anyone familiar with this? There's a few more pictures of each item, and that's it. An unexplained strange parting gift from OP's uncle. Luckily, the comments underneath this post were quick to discover the location of this serene photograph. It seems to be a photo of St. James Park in London. The flowers and fence match up perfectly. The comments immediately assumed that the code had to be some kind of coordinates, and the photo was whatever treasure was waiting was buried. So let's take a look at this code. Unfortunately, I'm no code breaker, but this post amassed a huge following in a short time, so there's already people on the case that we can observe. I found a translation of the note that is sprinkled in the comments by multiple cryptographers. These commenters use a technique called frequency analysis, which in layman's terms means counting the occurrences of each item in the note and analyzing their placement. Like I mentioned, I am no cryptographer, so if I manage to screw up my explanation, please forgive me. According to these comments, the note says, "She would never understand our relationship was only that of work. I have watched the result of our time. He still has time, until 30. This seems to be our answer, since multiple people were able to decipher it pretty much the exact same way. Even if this is our answer, it doesn't really give us much since it's still extremely cryptic. It seems that this has something to do with a relationship that just didn't work out between this OP's uncle and some unknown woman. I've seen multiple comments talk more about the DVD case, that being a Night of the Living Dead DVD case. They mention that since the note is talking about some kind of failed relationship, there's a photo included in a DVD case about the dead, it's possible there's something foul buried there. At this point, it would be impossible to know what any of this truly means, but this post did garner a lot of attention, so it's possible we can receive some updates. For now, we can only wonder what the truth of this OP's uncle really is. This next post comes from another iconic subreddit, r/mildly interesting. The subreddit is exactly what it sounds like, people posting mildly interesting things. This OP posted something they deemed mildly interesting, the fact that their pupils were different sizes after waking up from a nap. Thank God they posted this, because the comments would genuinely horrify me.
Search 2 different sizes in the sub and you'll see many similar posts, all with comments saying go to the ER. Seriously, go to the hospital. I had this happen to me a few years ago and went because everybody told me I should. Turned out my carotid artery had partially torn and blood wasn't getting to the nerves on my face. There are certainly other less serious reasons this might happen, but if it isn't a usual thing for you, get to the hospital right away.
Nearly every single comment is urging this person to go to the hospital immediately. Pupils being different sizes like this isn't always necessarily life-threatening, as one comment puts it, but it could be a telltale sign of a stroke, a brain tumor, or aneurysm. Multiple comments claim to be medical professionals. Of course, we have no way of proving that, but it seems everyone is in agreement that OP needs to get it checked out immediately. One comment mentions how they checked OP's account and found out they had recent brain surgery.
I just checked OP's account and it looked like she had brain surgery around 131 days ago. Then yes, she needs to go to the hospital right now. This is probably a sign of increased intracranial pressure and compression of a cranial nerve.
OP came into the comments and said they'll go to the hospital ASAP.
Update. Hey guys, this will probably be the final update. I posted this and within 2 minutes I got go to the ER ASAP. As many of you have found out, I do have a history of brain surgery within the last year, so I called my after-hours neurologist number, and they did indeed recommend I go to the hospital. I then got placed in a room as soon as I came in and got hooked up to all sorts of monitors. I got 2 brain scans and some funky eye tests. They told me that I was all clear and that I only had slightly elevated pressure in the eye that was dilated like that. As some of you have guessed, I do indeed use a nausea patch. I also have a long history of dizziness and migraines. The ER told me that it was most likely caused by the patch, but that they still recommend I follow up with my neurologist.
I checked their page, and as of writing, they've been active as of 13 hours ago, so hopefully everything is okay. I just know something like this would terrify me, posting some random mildly interesting thing only to have the entire comment section scream that you're practically dying and need to go to the hospital. Our next post also hails from the r/weird subreddit. The post is titled, "If you translate from French to Chinese on Google Translate but type Chinese in the French section, you get weird translations." The translation that the OP did was, "Can you take a picture for me?" and ended up getting, "The Chinese people are facing the danger of being killed." Immediately, all of the comments on this post were flooded with people attempting the same thing as the OP. One commenter typed in, "I love ice cream," and the translator spat out, "The entire family is at risk." Another put in, "How can we help you?" and received this horror, "We are paralyzed. Are you preparing?" There's plenty of people posting all of their attempts to get a cryptic phrase from Google Translate. One commenter posted every single phrase he found while doing this. "The Chinese people are in the process of being slaughtered. Chinese call for a new generation of China. Your mother is no longer alive. I am so sorry. I saw the sun for the first time. China's call to action. The main purpose of this project is to gain a better understanding of the current situation. The Chinese people are very worried about the situation. The Chinese people are being killed. The Great Patriotic War. China calls for a new era. The world is in trouble. We will fall. Wolf's fangs. The Chinese nation is the only ethnic group that has ever lived in China. Chinese people are in danger of being killed. The concept of newspaper. The right of the Chinese people is self-determination. This seems to match pretty much what everyone else got from what I can see. I attempted to do this myself and it just wasn't working. I wasn't sure if I was doing it correctly, but reading some of the recent comments on this, they also say the same thing. It does look like whatever this is fixed. This actually isn't the first time Google Translate started to act up like this. In 2018, Google Translate was pumping out biblical prophecies that ranged from strange to terrifying. The way to access this was just translating words and nonsense over and over again in different languages. The reason this happened was because Google Translate is a learning software, and similar to our AI, if you break it, it starts to revert back to spouting nonsense. I'm not sure if that's what's happening here, since it gives very specific remarks about the Chinese population. This is another post I'll be keeping my eye on, but since it doesn't seem to work anymore, we may never have a clear answer. Our next post comes from the r/Missouri subreddit. This post explains how the OP's father-in-law made a miraculous discovery. In Roaring River State Park, the OP's father-in-law found an antique-looking bag at the top of the hill. Inside the bag were over 100 seeds. When the family attempted to decipher where this bag came from, they found out that the bag was over 2,000 years old. Only one other has been found just 50 miles from where the OP's family found it. It seemed pretty unbelievable that something this old could have just been found lying around exposed to the elements. The family was able to get in contact with the University of Arkansas, which is where the only other one exists. A lot of comments were skeptical, and rightfully so. It almost feels impossible to find something of this caliber just hanging out. This post ends with a pending update, and thankfully, we've got it. So the post starts off with some corrections of the last post. The bag was found by Jerry Weber and Andy Jewell. This bag was found in the 1960s and sat in a jar ever since. The bag was found in a bluff shelf, which is the small rock shelves on cliffs and caves. The family went through more of Jewell's stuff and found around 7 ancient Native American tools and arrowheads. The family finally took all of their artifacts to the University of Arkansas to have it examined by a professional. When the bag was brought in for examination, word got around the university and academics crowded around to see the incredible find. Mel Zabecki, the surveyor for the university, said, "This is the nicest thing I've ever seen come in." The university deemed this bag was in fact authentic and dated it accordingly. This bag is what historians consider to be from the pre-contact era of the United States. This bag is older than the first European settlers that set foot in the country, which is insane to even think about. The museum is in the process of genuinely carbon dating it, an alliance between them and the Osage tribe to determine the actual age of the item. The seeds inside the bag were also examined and were extremely old and unfortunately unplantable. As for the tools, they were from different periods of history. Half of this set is said to be over 4,000 to 7,000 years old. To put that into perspective, the Great Pyramid of Khufu in Cairo is said to be around 4,000 years old. The other set of tools are around 1,000 to 2,000 years old, which in comparison to the other set seems like child's play, but to put that into perspective, that's about as long ago as the Ides of March and Julius Caesar's death. The family ended up donating the bag and tools to the university so future generations can enjoy this historical marvel. This is genuinely one of the coolest things I've ever seen posted on Reddit. If you guys have been watching the channel for a long time, you'll know both Jiff and I are huge history buffs and jump at the chance to talk about archaeology as much as possible. Indiana Jones would be proud. I want to give a warning for our next post. I will leave a timestamp here, so if you want to skip it, feel free. We've been doing these 4chan, Reddit, and TikTok deep dives for a long time now, and have seen some ridiculously vile stuff, and I think this next post can join that club. This post is a re-upload. The original came from r/confessions, and that's all we know. The original poster has been completely lost, and I hope to God whoever it is has found some help. Without further ado, I introduce you to the Parasite Man.
My obsession hurts others around me. It's also my fetish, but it goes far deeper than that. I'll try to explain the obsession the best I can, by explaining how it started. Basically, when I was young, I caught pinworms. It was a strange feeling and the itch was painful. My parents took me to the doctor and I got medication to cure it. The event is what sparked my obsession. The thought that my body could be their whole world, their lifeline, almost a planet of sorts. It was so interesting. After that, I began researching pinworms and other parasites, and I found out that the human body already holds parasites, such as demodex in their eyelashes, and I wanted to know how many a human body could endure without a chance of serious health issues. This curiosity has plagued my mind for years. I'm now 25, but I am very well versed in parasites as I have been studying them for over 10 years. I also purposely infect myself with non-lethal parasites because it's part of a fetish of mine. Some have worked better than others. Quite a few have given me serious diarrhea and fevers, while others have been much more bearable. I currently have pinworms and tapeworms, various non-pathogenic protozoa, and pubic lice. I am incredibly masochistic, so although it's uncomfortable, I do feel pleasure from it. All these parasites mean I need to eat a lot more than the average person, and I still look thin, and to be quite honest, it means I can enjoy so much more food than most people. I also keep multiple cultures of bedbugs and leeches in containers and allow them to feed on my blood sometimes, although these kinds are not really my passion, as they do not live primarily on the human body, but I think they're interesting nonetheless, and I do find them pretty cute. Now, it's time for the confession. My obsession and fetish isn't just about infecting myself anymore. I also have the desire to infect others, and I have acted on those desires. Sometimes my parasites just pioneer to new lands on their own. My family have caught pinworms multiple times without my intention, and other times I purposely spread them. I have infected strangers, friends, and even my own family. I know it's bad, but I just can't stop. I think I have parasites in my brain that makes me feel like I need to spread them. I know how crazy that sounds, but if you knew the feeling, you'd understand. Maybe it's just a mental illness, or maybe its origin is parasitic in nature. I really don't know. All I know is that it feels good when I do these things. I feel an intense need to spread my children, and when I do, I feel pleasure. I must have spread thousands of my children over the years. I sometimes sprinkle tapeworm eggs into people's drinks when I'm out at clubs. I also caught pubic lice from sex with a random woman I met at the same club, and in return, I'm pretty sure I gave her pinworms. So, it was a trade. The woman wasn't even attractive. I just wanted to gift her some pinworms, and instead I basically won the jackpot by sleeping with her. I then spread my lice to at least 4 other women. Sometimes I also sprinkle worm eggs onto food in buffets whenever I visit them. Yes, I understand you would think it's gross and messed up. I am basically betraying my species for my children. It's hard. I do enjoy people, and I have wonderful family and friends, but I also love my parasites, and my fetish is just too hard to control. I don't want to hurt anyone when I do these things, but a force beyond my understanding is driving me to do it. I think I could possibly have a parasite in my brain that has not yet been discovered. I'm sorry to all the people I have caused discomfort to, but it's for a cause beyond human understanding. Although this can all be justifiable, I still feel guilt. I don't want to hurt anyone. I hope the people I spread my gifts to can find it in their hearts to be a little more open-minded and not kill my children, but learn to live with them like I have instead. I'm aware how strange and disgusting others will find me if they knew. I'm aware of how immoral this seems to most people. I assume you may see me in a negative light after reading this, but remember, I only want what's best for my children, and if you were truly in my shoes, I'm sure you would do the same.
If you're still watching, I applaud you. Thankfully, there aren't any images or any genuine proof that everything stated here isn't complete BS. There actually isn't a term for a fetish like this, but in some fetish communities they've dubbed it parasitophilia, the sexual attraction from spreading parasites. It's extremely rare, but it's not only this one poster who has these feelings. The worst part is we'll genuinely never know who this person is, and if this post is true, the odds that they are still out there committing the same sick crimes are high. Our next post is actually one that happened to me in real life, and the only reason I found said post was because of my interaction.
American runs on Dunkin'. This is so awesome. Enjoy our $3 refreshers that are so tasty. We will be right with you.
So when this happened to me, I was genuinely shocked. I had no idea what was going on because with normal Dunkin' Donuts collabs, they are explicitly a partnership. Ice Spice had a drink, Charli D'Amelio had one, and I just thought this was a marketing stunt between Seth MacFarlane, the creator of Family Guy, and Dunkin' Donuts. I immediately looked it up and found this one Reddit post. This Dunkin' Donuts uses an AI voice of Peter for the drive-thru.
Dunkin', this is so wicked awesome. Enjoy our $3 refreshers that are so tasty. We will be right with you.
One comment mentions how he says wicked awesome instead of frickin' sweet, which is his normal catchphrase, so I can only assume it's not an official collab whatsoever. I went back the next day, and that's when I caught it on video. I had to ask the very sweet Dunkin' employee what the Peter voice was from, and she said it just appeared one day and had no idea where it came from. One of the comments mentioned that it happened to his girlfriend in Florida, which is where Debunk File is based out of. It's such a fascinating tale of blatant copyright abuse from a major food chain across the United States, and it can't be widespread because I feel like more people would be catching on. If any of you have experienced this, please write to us at any of our socials linked down below. I'm so curious about this since I've been personally affected by this mystery. Any information will be frickin' sweet. Okay, I'm sorry. This post recently has been taking the rounds of Reddit, and for good reason. The post is simply titled, "Should I Call the Cops?" The picture accompanied is nothing short of heart-stopping. A receipt and burger wrapper having the word "help" on it. The caption underneath mentions how the OP's boyfriend thought it was some kind of messed up practical joke. If something like this happened to me, I would skip right to calling the cops. I've seen enough horror movies to know what to do here. The OP got plenty of comments being urged to do just that and call the cops, regardless if it's a joke or not. The post garnered a lot of attention, yet the OP was nowhere to be seen with an update for days. It's always nice to see the internet clamor together about something that concerns them. Commenters urged for an update post. We finally were able to receive that update as well, and it read,
Sorry y'all, I didn't expect this post to blow up like this. I just got to my boyfriend's mom's to celebrate Mother's Day, so I wasn't looking at my phone. I called them about 10 minutes ago. They said they're sending someone there. I was hesitant because my boyfriend was so persistent it was just a joke because the guys in the drive-thru were making a lot of jokes. But I never saw a woman once, and a woman's name is on the receipt, so yeah. I just wanted to call them to be safe. They said if they have an update, they'll call me, so I'll for sure update you guys again if they do. Edit to add, yes, it was an employee playing a prank. 1 million people called to find out what happened, and that's the conclusion. There will be no further update unless I receive a call from the police, which I do not see happening. For those who think this is fake, no it is not. I did not order through their app, I ordered at the drive-thru. They did not ask for a name at the drive-thru, they just decided to write help as the name. For those of you who think this is for karma, again, no it is not. I don't care about karma. I did not expect so many views on this post. I was genuinely concerned. I just wanted to be sure I was truly doing the right thing before doing it. But I definitely would have called anyways because I don't think I would have been able to sleep otherwise.
So thankfully it was only a joke. It's unfortunately not a particularly funny joke. I understand the intent, but good lord, doing something like this is just horrible. Getting police involved for absolutely no reason and terrorizing people going about their day in the drive-thru. Maybe I'm looking too deeply into this. What do you guys think? For our final post of the night, we have one straight from r/RVI, the Reddit Bureau of Investigations. The post is titled, Mysterious Vibrating in My Bedroom. The post reads as follows. I'm not going crazy, but there's a vibrating in my room that I hear from time to time, and it's making me paranoid. I live alone, no one else lives with me but my dog. The buzz I hear sporadically sounds exactly like my iPhone, just a quick short vibration about half a second. It's not my iPhone as I hear it when I'm actively using my phone, and it's not my phone. It's not regular, it doesn't happen in intervals, it's completely random. Sometimes I hear it often, sometimes days go by. It's too quiet to hear when I'm watching TV, almost always when there's no sound. Sometimes it sounds like it's coming from under my bed. Sometimes it sounds like it's coming from the ceiling. I can't for the life of me figure out what it is. I live pretty basic. I have a light mounted on the ceiling, CO detector, iPhone charger in my room, and that's all the electric things in my room. Could it be coming from inside the drywall? Plumbing maybe? I'm not crazy, this is a real sound, but it happens so infrequently I can't pinpoint it at all. All of the comments lament a similar situation they had in the past. People mention a dying electric toothbrush, a Wi-Fi router, and a possible carpenter insect as being the culprit. I had a similar situation happen to me where I would hear this chime noise wherever I was, and I genuinely thought I would finally gone mad after spending too much time reading 4chan posts, but it turns out it was simply my AirPods. There has to be some kind of explanation for OP's problem here. Luckily, the OP provided a follow-up post. Posted about a strange buzzing in my house over a year ago, and I was never able to figure out what it was. I hear it so infrequently and irregularly that it was almost impossible to figure out what it was. Every time I'd hear it, I'd immediately stop what I was doing and go real silent, waiting with bated breath, hoping it would buzz again. Almost like a cruel joke, it would only buzz after I gave up waiting and went back to whatever it was I was doing. Even up to last week, I'd still hear it, sometimes multiple times a day, sometimes weeks would go by without hearing it. I'm pretty sure I figured it out, and it's comically stupid what it was. So I was sleeping in the middle of the night, like 3 AM, and I woke up and was in a semi-sleep daze kind of drifting. The world was real quiet, and it was a deep silence, and I heard the buzz. But for the first time, it almost immediately repeated, and kept repeating in frequency, almost like a rhythm. I was 100% sure it was my phone ringing on vibrate, so I started groping around the bed to find my phone because the buzzing sounded exactly like my phone, buzzing every 2 seconds for about half a second. Once I found my phone, the buzzing continued, but I couldn't quite place where it was coming from. This is gonna sound crazy, and I'm amazed this is the source, but eventually, my alertness and physical movements woke my dog up, and the buzzing immediately ceased with a grunt. The buzzing was my stupid shepherd's exhales. Like every exhale, or possible inhale, I'm not sure, was buzzing, exactly emulating a cell phone buzz. I'm decently confident that this is the same buzzing that I've been hearing for years, and also the reason that I've been unable to source it because every time I hear it, I get super alert and tense, which immediately wakes up my dog as he's super in tune to my behavior, and his breath buzzing stops. Then when I relax and give up the search, he goes back to sleep and the situation's over. That's when I hear it again, and he again wakes up to see what's got me agitated. I only ever hear it during moments of calm when I'm lounging, never when I'm active and moving about the house, so this would make sense that it's only ever been my boy sleeping. I'm pretty satisfied with this answer, and as I haven't heard it since that night, when I do hear it again, I'll be on the lookout to see if it is the dog nose next time as well. This is genuinely one of the silliest things I've ever read on Reddit. A buzzing sound driving someone insane for years, only to realize it was their best friend all along. It makes too much sense. As someone who used to live with 4 dogs, I can attest they make way more noise than needed while napping. On July 16th, 1969, humanity achieved its greatest feat, sending a man to our closest cosmic relative, the moon. Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins endured rigorous training for their eventual spacebound trip towards Luna. Liftoff was a success, and the Apollo 11 shuttle entered the moon's atmosphere. Aldrin and Armstrong boarded the lunar lander under the call sign Eagle. Normally this would lead to humanity conquering our first celestial body, and Neil Armstrong proudly stating,
"It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind."
But what if this time something went wrong? Horribly wrong. During the descent on the moon, the 2 astronauts learned a solar system shattering truth. 2 deep black holes appeared on Luna that day.
What the hell is that?
And then another larger hole like a mouth spread across the lower side of the moon. Without warning, Luna grimaced, brandishing sharp fangs, and started its slow trip towards Earth, combining in a massive collision. The moon was only the beginning, as Jupiter, Uranus, and Saturn look on from the distance. This is The Moon Wakes Up. This incredible animation short was done by a channel called Mr. Friend. The channel has been making horror animations featuring different phobias like cosmic horror, thalassophobia, and megalophobia for about 2 years now. The channel gained its first massive success with The Moon Wakes Up. In only about 2 months, the video has garnered a whopping 21 million views. This is how I found this channel, as I'm sure many others did. It's an unnerving concept, and of course, it is also kinda silly. A few comments pointed out how the moon resembles the annoying Orange cast of characters, but I think both of those factors led to its explosion across YouTube. Originally, this was just a one-off animation. I watched it, thought it was awesome, and went about my day. That was until a sequel popped up in my recommendations. As of writing this video, 4 episodes in the Moon Woke Up series have been published. I wanted to find some kind of lore breakdown or explanation for it, and despite its popularity, not a single video like that exists. So if you want something done, gotta do it yourself. Let's go through each individual part, analyze them as they go, and try to figure out some of this overarching story. Mr. Friend, I hope you're watching.
New from Debunk File. Feeling nostalgic? Grab these totally tubular tees from 1900-shop.fourthwall.com today. We have something for everyone. Tees, hoodies, hats, stickers, you name it, Debunk File has it. Don't worry, we have a limited time offer for the grand opening. Order now until July 31st to get free shipping on orders more than $60 with no code needed. If you're tired of looking like a square, trust us, we care. Visit 1900-shop.fourthwall.com today.
Stay for a while, it's Debunk File. The second part in this story starts just 1 month before the moon woke up with a doomsayer on the sidewalk, ranting and raving that the end is near and how they have seen the signs. The street nuisance also gives mention to how the chosen ones are all over, being transformed, and that the awakened ones will soon be here. The entire time the man is wearing a mask that eerily resembles the visage of the awakened celestial bodies. The short then jumps 5 days prior to the moon waking up. We're in a small apartment in the United Kingdom and a father ushers his son to get ready to leave. The son is drawing something and the TV is all but static. As the father gets closer, we see that the son is drawing the awakened planets, and suddenly the son is turned around and we get a look at his face.
Michael, I have to tell you one more time.
The same black eyes and grimace shared by all the other planets. We then get a short look at the Himba tribe in Namibia praying to a drawn face of the moon in the sand. The moon has finally woken up. What follows is some awesome analog horror of the entire world reacting to the moon waking up. We are shown a POV of someone chilling on the beach right before the impending collision. The next scene is a massive time skip. 5 years has passed since the moon woke up. We get an exact number of the casualty rate as well, 3.2 billion, which leaves only 10% of humanity to scrounge in the dust to rebuild society. The announcer mentions how every body of water has dried up on Earth. The final shot shows us the moon face down on Earth and slowly pans up to show Earth's next impending threat. Jupiter. This is the video that made me so fascinated in this world that Mr. Friend created. What first was just one short, now it's becoming its own setting for plenty of stories. Before I move on to the next episode in the series, I want to go over some of the most important things we see in episode 2. The first, of course, is that Doomsayer. We know that he's right in his assessment that humanity is in for something terrible, but how does he know that? Immediately, it leads me to believe there's some kind of psychic communication between the planets and some humans who are susceptible to their call. It goes even further than just having night terrors about the moon waking up and crashing face first into Earth. The kid we see is our first inclination that the planets are able to convert people into chosen ones. We aren't really sure who or what chosen ones are, but we now know that the planets can transform them even before they woke up or collided with Earth. What makes someone a chosen one? How are the planets able to transform people from over 200,000 miles away? I love how we get a couple of insights into life before the collision, but man, this just gave me more questions than answers. Let's move ahead and see what episode 3 can do to help clear up or muddy the waters of this already wild lore. Episode 3 starts 10 years after the collision with the Earth. We see astronauts standing on the moon attempting some kind of research. It doesn't seem exactly clear. As it pans out, we see Jupiter, Uranus, and Saturn loom over Earth.
Threats facing our existence appear to be far from over. Ever since Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus arrived several years ago, their intentions have remained unclear, and they continue to simply loom in the distance.
A quick side note, I strangely find Uranus so cute. Alright, don't clip that. But it's accurate, since Uranus is tilted upside down with its poles facing away from the sun. This silly planet with its creepy grin just floating the wrong way is so endearing to me. Well, back on track. We then finally get to see what humanity is doing to help rebuild and potentially combat the threat of the other planets, establishing the Frontline Research Initiative for Earth's New Defense, or FRIEND Industries for short. FRIEND is mentioned to have been financed by every single world leader that still stands, making it our best or only chance of survival. FRIEND headquarters sits right outside of the Umbra Zone, the zone that surrounds the moon's impact site in Africa. On the graphic showing the Umbra Zone, we see radioactive symbols hinting at something a lot more dangerous than just the planets lingering in our orbit. We get a great look inside the FRIEND HQ. I'm assuming this is the previously mentioned one right outside the Umbra Zone, but it's possible there's sites like these all over the world. In it, we see all sorts of industrial nonsense and a satellite that is being worked on or researched by FRIEND, we're really not that sure. We get a Terminator-style POV of a survivor in the rubble killing a rat, presumably for food. The rat itself is also scavenging, grubbing on some kind of pink glowing liquid, possibly the reason for the radioactive symbols all over the Umbra Zone. The narrator mentions how the 3 hovering planets are locking Earth's gravity due to being right outside of Earth's Lagrange Influence Disturbance Zone.
Just shy of the Lagrange Influence Disturbance Zone, effectively locking us in an equilibrial gravitational three-way.
Listen, I'm not an astronomer, so I might butcher this explanation, but it basically explains the gravity of celestial bodies, and since 3 planets surround Earth, Earth is seemingly unable to move at all. I apologize if that was completely wrong, but listen, this is a story about planets with faces. Let me know the right explanation down in the comments and I'll pin it. We see that satellite from inside the FRIEND HQ and find out it's actually a probe nicknamed Osiris-7. It's heading straight towards Jupiter. Another probe nicknamed Osiris-12 is also making a trek over to Saturn. Both probes are attempting to drop a Black Iris payload onto the planet. As of right now, we have no idea what that could mean. As Osiris-7 gets closer to Jupiter, the gravity spikes and the planet opens its mouth, and from it unleashes a moon.
Subtle gravity spike. What the hell? Is that a moon?
This little guy is just grinning like the rest of them and slams straight into Osiris-7, cutting off the video feed.
Gravity spike interrupting.
The same thing is happening to Osiris-12. Saturn spits out its moon Titan, smiling all the same and cutting off Osiris-12's feed. There's a great joke about no one wanting to get closer to Uranus, which is the exact kind of absurdist humor I've come to expect from a horror series about silly smiling planets. We find ourselves on the ground with what looks like FRIEND soldiers. They find that same guy from earlier eating the rat he killed. He turns around and has that same face as the kid in episode 2. As the horrified soldiers get attacked by this infected chosen one, we can see a disturbingly tall figure lurking in the background. The final shot is a POV of the beginning of the radioactive Umbra Zone. In the distance, we see that exact same figure, and after being spotted, it just darts away. Episode 3 did the exact same thing as Episode 2. I feel like we got more information, but gained even more questions. The first thing I want to mention is Friend Industries. Supposedly, this is the only thing holding Earth together 10 years after the moon's collision. It seems like they're doing something to help, building probes to get a better understanding of what these planets want, as well as sealing off the impact zone. This is all to say it's a big corporation, so I can imagine something sinister is also going on with them. The universe that Mr. Friend has created is extremely bleak, so I'm hesitant to trust Friend Industries right off the bat. The next point of contention is the Umbra Zone and its radioactivity. We see soldiers wearing hazmat suits when they confront the corrupted man inside the zone. The most infectious thing seems to be that pink liquid, but it is possible that even breathing the air in the Umbra Zone could be infectious or deadly. We now have two ways we know of how a human can be transformed into a chosen one. The first way being how the kid in episode 2 was transformed, some kind of psychic disturbance is my leading theory. The second way is pretty concrete. Ingesting or possibly getting that pink liquid on your skin can turn you into a chosen one. The next interesting thing mentioned in episode 3 is the Osiris probe speaking to the Friend HQ about dropping the Black Iris payload. This could mean anything, but my initial interpretation is some kind of planet killer or gravity weapon. As of right now, we have zero information on what it could be. It's possible it's not even a weapon at all, it could be just some kind of advanced research module that could further help humanity in their now 10-year stalemate of planetary proportions. Something that seems pretty cut and dry is the planets using their moons as projectiles. There really isn't much to go over here in terms of lore, but stylistically, it's just really cool. The planets that orbit above us are some of the largest in our solar system, so it just makes sense that they would have to use some kind of smaller body to do their dirty work. Of course, the most shocking development of episode 3 is the tall figure. This opens up an entire new realm of possibilities for where this series can go. It seems alien in origin, but I guess it could be what happens to chosen ones after prolonged exposure to either the psychic disturbances or the pink liquid. If it is an alien, I have no idea where to begin. Is it a thrall of the planets? Is it controlling the planets? Is it alone? Are there more? Who knows what this thing could be? I guess there's only one way to find out. Let's get to episode 4. The episode starts with a sort of recap of the first episode. We get to see a lot more of what happened to Earth post the collision. The episode begins to devolve into Friend propaganda with a Friend operative in a hazmat suit reaching his outstretched hand to a dying Frenchman.
A shining beacon rose from the ashes.
There's a great joke here about the Friend operative just kind of being there where the Frenchman begs for food instead of an outstretched hand. The narrator mentions Friend has been rebuilding humanity for the last 15 years, so another 5-year time jump has occurred between episodes 3 and 4. It seems as if Friend is really making a name for itself in the 15 years since the collision. We get to see what Friend is working on, and the different sectors you can be a part of when you answer the call to save humanity. We get to see their cutting-edge weapon development team, their hydrogenesis research team, their extremely popular repopulation program, the Umbra Corps Marines, research and development, and their space program.
And much more.
This is probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire series so far. It's just dripping with that goofy 1950s propaganda vibe. It really reminds me of that commercial from Monsters, Inc.
Incorporated. We scare because we care.
The most important information we get from this compilation of jobs you can do comes from the research and development sector. It's played as a joke with a Friend operative about to chainsaw a tied down man in half, but we do get to see giant canisters of the pink liquid. So Friend is aware of the liquid and is using it to run tests that I'm going to assume are anything but humane. The next scene is a couple of rough and tumble Umbra Corps Marines being escorted somewhere. We get some classic soldier dialogue that I unfortunately cannot repeat here. One soldier mentions how he wants to smuggle the pink moon juice out of the Umbra Zone. According to the soldier, one vial of the stuff goes for 70 food stamps a vial in Europe. It seems that the pink juice is being used as some kind of drug across the world. I love these exposition Marines because we get a ton of new information from their conversation. The guy in charge tells the team to put on their gas masks so they don't turn into moon-fected. One Marine mentions how first it was the cosmic frequency and now it's the radiation of the Umbra Zone. Since the pink juice seems to be a drug, I'm not sure if it's the reason people are becoming infected, but these are on-the-ground grunts, so we have to take their conversation with a pound of salt. The soldiers gear up for a mission in the Umbra Zone, and the second the door to their vehicle is opened, the team leader gets jumped by one of the Moonfected. The team leader tells them not to shoot, and of course, one of them opens fire and kills him. The Moonfected woman jumps back up and is killed by a Marine with a robo-hand.
Nice going, Tim, man. Won't have to worry.
Suddenly, another Marine is grabbed through the roof by a long arm. The thing appears in the doorway and takes out the entire squad. We finally get a better look at the tall figure as well. Before it can do anything more, it looks off into the distance as a rift opens up beside it. We pan out to see the same rift open up behind Jupiter. A giant hand comes out of the rift and pulls Jupiter in, and the episode ends. There is definitely a lot to look at in this episode, so let's just start from the beginning. Of course, we get another time jump, and it seems like Friend is starting to get more and more under control. Each department could easily have their own 2 to 3 minute episode. Let's take a deeper look into each sector. Granted, we don't get a lot of time to spend with each one, but first up is their weapons development team. We don't really get to see what makes the weapons different, but it looks futuristic enough. I'm assuming they are built to handle anything that's thrown at them in the Umbra Zone. The next sector is the Hydrogenesis research team. Again, I am a YouTuber, not a scientist, so my explanation on hydrogenesis might be completely butchered. In real life, hydrogenesis is commonly called hydrogenation, and it refers to the chemical reaction of hydrogen being added to a molecule for a multitude of uses. It's used in the food industry and pharmaceutical industries for various purposes. In the context of our story, we really have no idea what it could be used for. It's possible they're draining the moon's water source, which is in the form of ice. They could be purifying the infected water across the Earth. We really have no idea. The next sector we see is of course the highly popular repopulation program. I don't think I need to explain this one. Next up is the Umbra Corps Marine Division. This one is also pretty self-explanatory, but as someone who loves a good sci-fi army, I would adore some better looks at their training and missions. I feel like a survival horror game where you play as an Umbra Corps Marine undergoing a mission in the Umbra Zone would be way too fun. Mr. Friend, get on that ASAP. Research and development is probably the most interesting department. We don't see much in our quick go-around, but as previously mentioned, we do see giant canisters of moon juice being stored for some kind of use. We now know that the moon juice probably isn't going to turn you into a Moonfected since it's being used as some kind of drug, but even that's pretty unclear. My interpretation of the R&D department is they're using the moon juice to try and help humanity become immune to the infectious diseases that the moon gives off. The chainsaw bit is of course played as a joke, but maybe they're researching the moon juice as some kind of invulnerability drug. The last department we see is their space program. These are the men and women on the front lines of research against the planets, using top-of-the-line research and technology to get any kind of understanding of what's going on in the stars. We of course have seen the space program before during the Osiris missions to probe the planets. They were of course massive failures, but it's good to know they are still doing something to protect us. As for the soldiers' discussion, I pretty much covered their talking points in the recap section, so there isn't too much to truly break down here. I think we can all agree the biggest event to occur in episode 4 is the rifts. The one that appears behind the tall figure and the one that opens up and grabs Jupiter. This is the biggest game changer in the lore since the moon itself woke up. It seems there's some other form of life out there that controls these celestial bodies. It could be some form of alien god similar to the Living Tribunal from the Marvel comics. A celestial entity that intervenes when necessary. Maybe the planets are breaking some kind of cosmic rule and the wardens of the galaxy or universe awoke from their slumber to stomp out the planetary rebellion. This is the part where I was going to tidy everything up in a nice enough bow and say goodnight, but halfway through writing this, Mr. Friend blessed us with one more entry in the Moon Woke Up series. Let's take a look at the brand new episode and see how this series follows up from that wild cliffhanger at the end of episode 4. The episode begins with a POV of some Friend Space Division astronauts. They're making contact with the other set of Friend astronauts on some kind of joint mission. Suddenly, some kind of EMP goes off and the camera shakes as the other set of astronauts lose control of their ship. We get an astronaut's POV of the opening of the rifts, as a hand reaches out and grabs Uranus, just like it did to Jupiter in the last episode. Another hand goes for Saturn, and we see Jupiter grabbed one last time as all three planets are sucked into some kind of alternate dimension or something. The Space Division suffers a catalyst as the shockwave from the rifts causes ships to crash and astronauts to die.
We have suffered a major catastrophe. Friends, they have simply only
We then cut back to the Umber Zone. We see Marines fighting a tall figure and get their POV of the rifts.
After years of chaos and uncertainty, what we once thought to be our greatest peril has been eclipsed. As our three mighty neighbors are plucked from the heavens, it appears as if, for now, we are safe.
Time jumps have happened in every episode so far, but in this one we get our greatest jump yet, 150 years. We see Earth's oceans have returned in a flourishing sci-fi city. Friends seem to be the dominant force on our planet after saving us from the planets, although we should probably thank those giant hands instead. The Umber Zone is properly sealed off with a giant wall that would make Eren Yeager scream. Everything seems to be going great on Earth, and beyond as well, as we see a permanent moon base and massive satellite research outposts circling in our orbit. It seems as if Friend was even able to control the rifts, building a giant ring around one and either opening it themselves or at least knowing when the next rift will open. The next scene is a POV of a man in a cryo-free style chamber who's referred to as Subject 24X. We find out that 24X is the only one to survive the initial experiments out of 86 other subjects. The lead scientist mentions that he didn't boil like the others. This entire cryo scene feels straight out of the beginning of Halo Combat Evolved to me. The subject is escorted into a chair and the lead scientist starts monologuing at him, explaining how he'll be the first viable super hybrid. This research team has apparently been experimenting for centuries to find a suitable candidate. The scientist is handed a technologically enhanced arm prosthesis and continues talking about the experiments themselves. The scientist mentions how they have been working on gene integration with element 75-U, or colloquially known to us as moon juice. The arm prosthesis is attached and the subject is injected with the moon juice. A giant metal door opens up to reveal one of the tall figures that lumbers out. It takes out the assistant, but Subject 24X charges up his metal arm and blasts the tall figure into oblivion. Our final shot of the episode is Neptune waking up. Overall, there isn't too much to analyze in episode 5. The time jump essentially speaks for itself. Earth is seemingly completely safe, meaning that Friend succeeded, again with the unknowing help of the giant rift hands. A big question I had in this episode seems to be kind of insignificant, but I found myself drawn to it. That being the whereabouts of the lab that we see during the back half of the episode. I think we're supposed to assume it takes place on that permanent moon base we saw earlier in the episode. A major point of contention is the experiments themselves. What were they doing that literally boiled the other subjects alive, and why did 24X survive when others didn't? I'm going to assume the boiling is referring to the moon juice literally boiling the subjects inside out, and 24X just has a body built for experimentation. It seemed to work. The combination between the robot arm and the moon juice made Earth's first ever super soldier to help combat any cosmic threats. The final shot also seems to be extremely important, that being the awakening of the blue planet, Neptune. I always wondered where the other planets were during this. Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus are all past our solar system's asteroid belt, and so is Neptune, so maybe only planets past it can be affected? That doesn't really factor in our moon, that of course is not past the solar system's asteroid belt. Another factor is the fact that all the sentient planets don't have a traditional surface like the Earth does, being either a gas giant or an ice giant. This would be a really good way to determine why Mercury, Venus, and Mars didn't wake up. But again, our moon did, and that does have a surface similar to Earth's. We may be on episode 5, but this is only the beginning. Alright, we've had 5 episodes so far, so let's try and tidy up this story in one go. In 1969, when astronauts would have landed on the moon, they discovered the moon was alive. It woke up and went straight towards Earth, causing a massive collision. We get to see what life was like before the moon woke up, and we get a look at the final minutes before collision. This is the first time we see cosmic frequencies causing someone to turn into a moonfected. We get our first time jump, placing us around 1974. 90% of Earth's population has been decimated by the moon. The planet is practically unlivable. When things look like they can't get any worse, 3 planets wake up: Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. We get another 5-year time jump, placing us in 1979. The biggest development in the 5 years that have passed is the still looming threat of the planets, Friend Industries, and the explanation of the Umbra Zone that surrounds the moon. This episode shows us Friend in action for the very first time. They seem well-meaning, but of course there has to be something sinister hiding behind their friendly exterior. This is also the first episode we get to see moon juice, or element 75U. Originally, I assumed this element caused moonfection after a survivor ingests a rat that ingested the juice turns into a moonfected. This is still pretty open for interpretation since we later find out it's also used as a drug. This is also the first time we see the tall figure or figures. I'm certain we haven't seen more than one next to each other. We also get to see the Osiris probe missions. They of course fail terribly since planets have control of their moons, which have also woken up. Another 5-year time jump takes place, putting us in 1984. Friend has been slowly building over the last 15 years and are really making a name for themselves. We get a great extended look at what being an Umbra Corps Marine is like during a mission. The biggest development is the rifts, the giant hands that steal the planets right out of the stars. The next time jump is 150 years, putting us in the far-flung future of 2134. Earth seems to be prospering without the cosmic threats, and Friend seems to have everything under control. They seem to have created a perfect super soldier to destroy any cosmic threats that may come back. Of course, Earth is going to need Subject 24X, since the series up to now ends with Neptune's awakening. What started as a one-off horror short has now turned into a sprawling lore of terror and comedy. I'm so glad we were able to dig deep into this bustling new universe. We've learned a lot, theorized even more, and yet I'm still unsatisfied with our full breakdowns. I don't think we're ready just yet to piece together an entire story since it's still building, and I think I was able to get everything done in the episode breakdowns themselves. This series has garnered loads of success, so I doubt that episode 5 is where this story ends, especially with Neptune waking up. I'm definitely in this for the long run, and if you guys like this video, you can absolutely expect a follow-up video as soon as Mr. Friend updates his own universe. I think 5 is a good way to do things. I won't make a video on every single upload, maybe I'll talk about it in community posts, but once Mr. Friend gets to episode 10 is when we'll go ahead and make our video. I'm extremely excited to see where this series goes, but what about you? Did you think I did a good job attempting to figure out the mysteries of the moon woke up? If not, please comment your own theories down below. I'd love for the next video to have tons of viewer feedback. I want to see your interpretations all over this comment section. We will see you all very soon. Friend Industries, out. Of all the different books I read as a kid, Geronimo Stilton had to be one of my favorites. Do you remember this mouse? When I was a little kid, these wacky fonts, these colorful illustrations, and that zany cast of characters helped me fall in love with reading. These books follow Geronimo Stilton, a mild-mannered mouse who always finds himself involved in fantastical adventures thanks to his family. The books are supposed to be designed as if Geronimo himself wrote them, since he is an editor and publisher at the Rodents Gazette. It feels like an absolute nostalgic blast from the past to think about all this again, right? Well, unfortunately, I'm not bringing this up for no reason. Geronimo Stilton is known for going on adventures and solving mysteries, but this time, I think he's gonna need a little help. Because Geronimo Stilton, the mouse who just wants a life of peace, has found himself involved in a lost media mystery for the ages. It won't be easy, but let's come together and help this poor rodent out once and for all. I was first reintroduced to Geronimo Stilton about 2 months ago. As many of you probably know, I already made a video all about the lost media of Geronimo Stilton, where we discussed 2 equally fascinating yet complete obscure lost media mysteries. For those of you that have not seen that first video, don't worry, I'm going to summarize everything there and much more. I wound up getting in contact with two people that helped me out so much in the research and creation of this video, and I am now extremely happy to say that in just a few short months, everything has changed. Let's catch a flight to Italy and start this adventure. Geronimo Stilton was first published in Italy in 1997 by Elisabetta Dami. Dami had recently found herself unable to have children and began volunteering at children's hospitals. While helping these children, she began telling stories of Geronimo Stilton. The kids loved these stories, so Dami began publishing them. By 1999, they became a huge sensation. Geronimo Stilton was starting to become a phenomenon, and that all leads us to our first lost media mystery.
New from Debunk File. Feeling nostalgic? Grab these totally tubular tees from 1900-shop.fourthwall.com today. We have something for everyone. Tees, hoodies, hats, stickers, you name it, Debunk File has it. We just introduced a new wicked design. Front and back so everyone knows your style is the bomb from every angle. You can get that and our original designs as sweaters for all you cold weather lovers out there. If you're tired of looking like a square, trust us, we care. Visit 1900-shop.fourthwall.com today.
Stay for a while, it's Debunk File. In 1999, to capitalize on the newfound popularity of Geronimo Stilton, it appears that there were plans to create a Geronimo Stilton animated series. These books were characterized by how cartoony and zany they could be, so adapting them to animation seemed like an exciting new possibility. But when you search up Geronimo Stilton animated series on Google, all you will ever find is the unrelated and much more popular 2009 show. So what am I talking about? Well, late last year, my friend Visual Aid was scouring the depths of Italian Wikipedia to find anything of note about Geronimo Stilton. While he was doing this, he came across a page called Strain Money Animation, a former Italian animation studio. They seemed to be a relatively small studio without too many credits. However, one of them stood out. Geronimo Stilton, pilot episode only, 1999, Gertie. No sources provided here, but it didn't look like it was related to the more famous 2009 show. Since Wikipedia pages can be edited by anybody, this could be false information, but why hide something like this in such an obscure Wikipedia article? Not long after this, another Wikipedia page was found with eerily similar details. This is the Wikipedia page of Carlotta Mastrangelo, an author/screenwriter. If we scroll down the page, we are once again met with this. She then collaborated in 1999 with Gertie for the writing of the pilot episode of the animated series Geronimo Stilton, Pilot and Bible, with Grafilm. Now we have two occurrences of eerily similar text about the mysterious animated pilot, but there are new details too. The main buzzword these two lines of text share is the word Gertie, but what does that mean? Well, upon looking it up, Gertie was actually another Italian animation studio, and this studio appears to be still active. I reached out to them all the way back in the first video, but as of now I still have not received a response. There was another name though, Grafilm. Grafilm is another animation production company. The source listed for this claim just takes us to Grafilm's website. There is one other source listed below, and it is actually an archive of Grafilm's old website. I thought this would help me find where this Wikipedia claim came from, but I couldn't find anything here. These Wikipedia articles can't be the only pieces of information though, can they? They seem to mention a completely unknown Geronimo Stilton pilot, but there must be more details somewhere to learn about all of this. Naturally, my next step was to go to the official Geronimo Stilton website. The site as it stands today has no references towards this pilot, but maybe things would be different if we travel through the Wayback Machine. Let's see what GeronimoStilton.it looked all the way back then, when the books were exploding. When you view this site in the Wayback Machine, this is what it looks like. It really has that charming old internet feel. The website is full of all the personality the books had, and as you can see, there are multiple sections to click on. This site references a lot of relevant information, many of which we'll come back to later, but I couldn't find a single instance of a TV pilot being mentioned anywhere. When I first began digging into this mystery, I came across this article from 2002. As you can see, the majority of it seems to be about just how popular Geronimo Stilton has gotten, as it's even rivaling Harry Potter. But if you keep reading, this one line states that there are high expectations for a Geronimo Stilton animated series to release in 2004. And this time, it didn't come from Wikipedia. Rumors really seemed to be buzzing about a Geronimo Stilton series at around this time, and there had to be more to find. As more time went on and Google searches came back unsuccessful, it seemed clear that a lot of information for this lost media mystery could possibly be hidden in the Wayback Machine, and thanks to our finds, we had a few things to work with. Namely, we had animation studios. What happens if you put Strain Monty Animation in there? The company is defunct now, but they used to have a website, so let's see what it looked like. In an archive from 2001, this bombshell of a discovery was waiting. Geronimo Stilton, 1999, production Gertie, Dami Editore, directed by Marco Zanoni, author Elizabeth Dami, pilot episode of 26 by 26 TV series. Strain Monty has created layout, animation, intercalation, cleanup, and line test. This was our biggest find for this lost pilot the first time I covered it, because it seems to confirm just how much work was done. The info up until this point was so vague, but now we have a director's name, a reveal that it was supposed to be a full 26 by 26 TV series, and official confirmation that animation was being worked on. There was even some art provided that could have been related to the pilot in some way. It was a massive discovery. However, the pilot itself still remained completely lost. It felt like I was getting closer, but I was still so far away from some answers. There was still no actual plot details for this pilot, and I couldn't find any footage from it, or proof that this series was ever even released or completed. The director, Marco Zanoni, might actually be the most illustrious person tied to this production, as he's worked with Netflix, Disney, Studio Ghibli, and much more. He has an expansive portfolio online, and when you visit it, you can again see that he did work on this pilot. Visual aids swiftly reached out to him, and he answered. Unfortunately, the reply wasn't as exciting as it might have seemed off first glance. Marco Zanoni didn't seem to remember working on it, and didn't have anything he could share about it. Once again, we seemed to be so close, yet so far away. As we kept digging, the main mystery to me seemed to be if there was ever even an animated pilot at all. Judging by all the info we went over, it seemed clear that there were definite plans for a Geronimo Stilton animated series in the late 90s. We had multiple production studios attached, such as Gertie and Strain Monty. We had the name of a director, confirmation for how many episodes there were supposed to be, but nothing else. Because of all that, and the fact that Marco couldn't remember anything about the series, I assumed that it might not have ever been completed. These plans clearly were serious, but maybe they got pushed back or halted in a way. Maybe this lost media only ever existed in the planning stages. Well, I am so happy to announce that I was wrong. So very wrong. Remember when our biggest discovery was within Strain Monty's archives? Well, what if I told you that there was one other archive that I, of course, completely missed, and it wound up holding the biggest piece of proof of them all? If you go to Strain Monty's old website and go to October 30th, 2003, you can find a link that says Show Reel. Let's watch what happens when you click this link. We finally got footage from this elusive lost pilot. It really did exist after all, and now everything has changed. It took this mystery from something full of speculation to something concrete. It was genuinely the find I'd hoped for. It's such a shame that it's only a 2-second clip, but it clearly seems to be a snippet of a small piece from something a lot larger, and this would be far from the only update. Not long after I released the first Geronimo Stilton video, I got a message from somebody on Reddit. This message was a LinkedIn link. This user said that he found an animator from the 1999 pilot, Stefania Gallo. When I visited the LinkedIn page, sure enough, it was true. When I scrolled down her portfolio, I found 2000, Geronimo Stilton, layout artist, pilot, Gertie Film, Milan. Supposedly, this Redditor found this LinkedIn page by typing Geronimo Stilton and then in quotations putting in keywords that may be related to the pilot. Words like animation, test, episode. Putting quotations between a search term like this allows you to search for exact phrases, which can get you much more specific results than just typing things in normally. In this era of search engine optimization, using tricks like this can help you get the results you're really looking for. It was the exact thing we needed to do here to possibly get us closer to this lost pilot. By putting keywords in like this, and then searching to see what might happen, we were able to uncover so much more. I quickly reached out to Stefania in hopes that I could learn more about this lost series. I also decided to reach out to Strain Money Animation's co-founder. As this was happening, another animator was found. Federico Panella was another Italian animator who happened to have a website with a portfolio. As you scroll down this portfolio, I'm sure you know where this is going. 2D animator at Matinamata for Geronimo Stilton, production Gertie. Not only did we find another animator, but we also got confirmation for another studio's involvement, Matinamata. After searching them up on Google, they also appeared to be a small Italian animation studio with a lot of scattered results online. One of these results was their Vimeo page, which had a showreel. It mentioned being a medley of their work since 1996, which got me extremely excited. But unfortunately, there's no animation from the Geronimo Stilton show here. Just as I accepted that another lead led to nothing, I got 2 emails. To my shock, both Stefania as well as Federico answered me within hours of each other. Their answers couldn't be more different from each other too, funny enough. Federico actually was the first to get back to me, so let's see what he said. He mentions that his memory of this pilot is fuzzy, before stating that he worked on it in 1998 or 1999 at Matinamata in Rome. He says that his contribution to it was very limited since he was leaving the studio at that time, and said that he never got the chance to see the finished pilot, which he states was pretty normal. Many animators were left in the dark on the fate of these pilots. He then mentions that Matinamata was a subcontractor for Strain Money. As his email comes to a close, he says, "Italian animation in the 90s was a jungle. More than half of my resume pre-2006 can be considered lost media. I wish you luck in your search, hopefully you'll find more. Keep me posted if you can." While Federico wasn't able to put this mystery to rest, I'm just glad I was able to contact someone who actually remembered working on this esoteric series pilot. His experience and his statement that Matinamata was a subcontractor to Strain Money also helps contextualize things a little more. Once again, we didn't find the series pilot, but instead just got a step closer. So let's see Stefania's response and find out if I could get another step closer. Well, not entirely. She mentioned being involved with some personal problems and that she would come back afterwards. That day still hasn't come yet, so until then, we're gonna have to keep digging on our own. Carlotta Mastrangello's Wikipedia page was one of our first jumping off points for this entire mystery, and my new friend found another instance of her name being tied to this animated pilot in a way that helped confirm something huge. She later collaborated in 1999 with Gertie for the Bible and writing of some episodes of the animated series Geronimo Stilton. There were 2 words here that really made this stand out: some episodes. This mystery began as a search for a lost animated pilot from 1999 that I thought may not have even been completed. Now it seems pretty clear that this pilot was not only completed, but approved, meaning that production for an entire 26 episode season was in the works, and there was a lot more evidence to confirm this. Our next discovery was this article from 2001. It was about an animation studio called Carrere Group, and it seems to confirm that work on a full season of Geronimo Stilton was beginning. Also in development at Carrere is Geronimo Stilton, 26x26, a series in co-production with Milan-based Gertie, Le Films della Perrine, and Italian public broadcaster Rai. We now have new confirmation for 2 more studios that worked on this show, Carrere Group and Le Films della Perrine. Carrere Group is a French animation studio, which is somewhat notable since essentially all the other studios that worked on this show were Italian. I was able to find the studio's founder on LinkedIn, so I sent him a message, but once again, I have not received a response just yet. It wasn't long before we found another animator, Annetta Zucchi. Interestingly enough, it appears that she actually did work on both Geronimo Stilton animated series, the well-known 2009 show, and then at the bottom of her page, Geronimo Stilton, 2x26, Gertie/Rye. Her statement actually differs in a way from what we know. Strain Mahdi's website mentions that Geronimo Stilton was a 26x26 show, and so did the Carrere article. But Annetta wrote that there were actually 2 26-episode seasons. All of this just makes me wonder about so much. How far did work for this animated series actually go? How much is lost here exactly? I reached out to Annetta for some clarification, but have not received a response yet. I just felt like every single promising lead was destined to end the same way. I went back to Reddit while I was writing this video just to see if maybe I missed something there. As it turned out, I did. A post made over a year ago, long before the footage of the Geronimo Stilton pilot was ever found, said this. So when we talk about a cartoon dedicated to Geronimo Stilton, we all have in mind that Geronimo Stilton series, released starting in 2009. But what if I told you that we should have had the series much earlier? Well, I have 2 very specific memories that can prove it. As the OP goes over his childhood memories, the first one involves getting a Geronimo Stilton egg as a present for Easter all the way back in 2003. Inside this egg was a little book which included something very notable all the way at the back, a little phrase that said, "His cartoons will soon be on TV." If this memory is true, it clearly was not about the more popular 2009 show. Normally I would scoff off a post like this, but their second story is much more notable. This is much more difficult to prove, but I'm quite certain of it. Again, in 2003, around July/August, during the morning cartoon slot on Raidu, a teaser commercial for the future of Rai's children's slots would occasionally be shown. And in it, for something like a couple of seconds, you could see Geronimo Stilton himself. I remember quite clearly that the animation style was more traditional and less computer-generated than the series that came out definitively years later, more similar to the illustrations in the books, including the design of Geronimo himself, who was the chubby mouse with glasses from the books and not the young and slim one from the cartoon. This, like any Reddit post, is full of information that cannot be proven at all. Keep in mind, however, this post was made way before we found an actual clip of the animated pilot, and the details match up pretty well. The Geronimo we saw in the pilot is chubbier, wears glasses, and is definitely much more traditional and less computer-generated than he was in the 2009 show. The timeline also lines up well with what we know. Remember, there were supposedly high expectations for this series to release in 2004. Running advertisements more aggressively in 2003 would make perfect sense. Our next find was definitely another really notable one. This was yet another LinkedIn page of someone who worked on the original Geronimo Stilton series, but this time it's not an animator. This is the voice actor for Geronimo Stilton himself. I've also worked for kids shows like Geronimo Stilton, produced by PM Eddie Zioni, playing the part of Geronimo Stilton. This is not the same voice actor from the 2009 show. This is from our Lost series. PM Eddie Zioni is actually the publisher of the Geronimo Stilton books, and they didn't seem to have any part in the 2009 show. What might sting the most is that if you read his portfolio, he mentions that he has a show reel on YouTube, but if you click it, it's now private. There was a low but non-zero chance that a clip from the Geronimo Stilton show is in there, but we might not ever get to know. As you may have guessed, I reached out to him and have not gotten a reply. There was one final person we found who worked on the series. Deep on the internet, there lies this article. It features a ton of animators, and one of them was Bruno Oliveri. Bruno is a screenwriter, designer, and colorist with a very notable portfolio, as he's also worked for Walt Disney Italia and the Geronimo Stilton animated series. Since 2003, he's been designing for Red Whale some episodes of the series, Monster Allergy, Walt Disney, and Geronimo Stilton. I found one more source that also says basically the same thing. Not only does this seem to suggest that he worked on multiple episodes of Geronimo Stilton, but it also introduces yet another possible new studio, Red Whale. When I looked up Red Whale, I found out some very interesting information about them. One of the first things I found upon looking them up was their LinkedIn page, which reveals the fact that this studio is actually involved in the production of the Geronimo Stilton book series. As it turns out, they've actually assisted in the illustrations for many Geronimo Stilton books in the past. At the bottom of this LinkedIn page, it states that they have provided writing services for animated series. While it doesn't mention Geronimo Stilton here, it does mention Grafilm, who we know was involved in the writing process for this show. All this makes this one of the most interesting leads we have gotten yet. Bruno's sources claim that he designed some episodes of Geronimo Stilton for Red Whale, which would suggest that this studio was involved in the animation process. If this is true, it does make sense, especially when you consider how much more faithful Geronimo's character model was in this cartoon versus the 2009 show that eventually came to be. It would make sense for this character model to look a lot closer to the books if a studio that actually worked on the book art was involved here. Part of me also wondered if they could have assisted in the writing of this show, since it stated that they had experience doing that and have worked with Grafilm before. This about ends things when it comes to confirmed evidence, but there are a few bits of speculation I'd like to quickly bring up. As we've seen, a lot of the animation for this Geronimo Stilton series seemed to be subcontracted work. We found confirmation that Mata was a subcontractor for Strain Mani, and as we kept researching things, my friend realized that the studios involved with this Geronimo Stilton series subcontracted work very often, meaning it's very possible that there were more studios involved here than we know of. One of these studios was 2D/3D Animations. This is now a defunct French animation studio, but they actually formed in 1999 and worked on many of the same projects that Strain Mani, Mata, Gertie, and Carrere worked on. While I don't have actual proof that they worked on Geronimo Stilton, I think it's a possibility that should at least be mentioned. There is one more studio like this that I found, but thankfully there is a little bit more proof on its side. Phoenix Studios was another Italian studio that seemed to work with many of the studios involved with the creation of this show, but there is one detail about them that really stands out. Remember the Strain Mani animation reel? The incredible video that actually showed us a clip of the Geronimo Stilton pilot? Well, I was able to confirm that multiple of the shows in this Strain Mani show reel were actually worked on by Phoenix Studios. While I don't have direct proof that Phoenix Studios worked on this pilot, it is possible. The sheer amount of information I learned since the last video about this animated series was absolutely shocking. I went from believing that this pilot may have never been completed to learning that it was not only completed, but the show was seemingly approved. As I alluded to, the single biggest question now is how far did things go here? Based on what we learned, there seems to be a pretty clear timeline. In 1998 or 1999, work for a Geronimo Stilton pilot began. The studios involved with this animated pilot were Gertie Studios, Grafilm, Strain Mani Animation, and Mata. It's possible that Phoenix Studios worked on this pilot too, but I wasn't able to confirm that. Marco Zanoni directed the pilot, with Carlotta Mastrangelo writing the episode. As for animation work, Stefania Gallo was one of the layout artists, and Federico Panella was one of the 2D animators. While we still have no information as to what this lost pilot might have been about, the 2-second clip that we have shows a snowy background and Geronimo falling over. Visual Aid believes that this episode may have been an adaptation of the book Red Pizzas for a Blue Count, as the entire first half of that book is a train journey, but that's just a theory as of now. Many of the sources from 2001 and on explicitly mention a TV series rather than just a pilot, and we also got introduced to multiple new studios then, such as Carrere Perrine, Red Whale, and possibly 2D/3D. These are studios that did not seem to work on the original pilot, but did work on the series. For this reason, I believe this pilot could have been approved around 2001, where production for a full Geronimo Stilton show began. Carlotto still appeared to be the writer on the show, as it's stated that she wrote multiple episodes, and the literary bible for the series. Bruno Olivieri and Annetta Zucchi were two of the animators that worked on the show. Finally, there was Francesco Lovati, the voice actor for Geronimo Stilton himself. We've uncovered quite the team for a series that is so obscure and lost, and that's what I found so mysterious. Was work for this show halted and pushed back, or was it actually completed and aired? Somehow neither answer seems to make total sense. One of the main reasons why I thought this show might not have actually aired comes back to that Harry Potter article we discovered all the way at the beginning. It mentions that there were high expectations for a Geronimo Stilton animated series in 2004. I then thought about the Reddit post of a commercial from 2003 for that upcoming series. We have multiple, albeit small bits of proof saying that the show was coming, but no sources ever saying that the show was released. I found that weird. I wanted to try and find anything concrete about this show premiering or being watched, but was that even possible? If this cartoon did air on TV, there is one place where it could have, and it might explain a lot of things. Go-Kart Mattina. Go-Kart Mattina was an Italian show that aired on Rai known as Container Show. What this means is that this show was basically a variety show with many different unrelated segments. The descriptions I've read for this show seem to be pretty all over the place, but during the morning slot, which lasted from 1997 to 2005, it seemed to broadcast a large list of cartoons. As I scrolled down the list of shows that were broadcasted during the time, I saw Geronimo Stilton, 1999 to 2005. So, is it possible that this Geronimo Stilton animated series was actually airing on Go-Kart Mattina the whole time? If it was, that could probably explain why it has remained so elusive so far. But if it did air there, why would it air there and nowhere else? And why does the year range from 1999 all the way to 2005? That doesn't match our timeline either. My friends and I have a theory that could explain this, but keep in mind, it is technically a theory. This Geronimo Stilton series was probably not set to be an international one. Instead, it would have only aired on Italian television. That would explain part of why it's remained so elusive, but not all of it. This next part of the theory is where Go-Kart Mattina comes in. What if the Geronimo Stilton series aired here, because they were using it as sort of a test? Maybe they aired the Geronimo Stilton pilot here in 1999 and then aired a few episodes of the series here as well over the years, with the final one of these airings being in 2005. By then, Geronimo Stilton became so much more of an international sensation than anybody ever expected. He became a mouse that could star in an international animated series, rather than a smaller scale series like initially planned. At this point, around 2005, maybe it was shelved and the idea for the international 2009 Geronimo Stilton series slowly began sprouting. Once again, that's just our personal theory based on what we've learned. I've displayed all the evidence we have gathered for you to come to your own conclusions with, so feel free to let me know what you think might have happened. During this all, I couldn't stop thinking of what Federico Pinella said. More than half of my resume pre-2006 can be considered lost media. There is still a part of me that believes at least some evidence of this show would have circulated if it really did air on TV, but it cannot be understated just how true his comment was. While searching for this animated series, I got a glimpse of just how much of the media that aired on these Italian broadcasts became lost, and it was staggering. I'd guess that hundreds of different shows from around this time have become completely lost. Hundreds of pieces of art that hundreds of people once worked on have become completely forgotten to time. Oftentimes, this seems to be true even among the artists that worked on them. And that's when I made possibly the most shocking discovery of them all. This lost animated series was not the only lost show related to Geronimo Stilton. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I found 2 more entirely lost Geronimo Stilton shows. GeronimoStilton.it evolved a lot through the years. If you go to an archive from 2006, we can see how different the home screen appeared. If you look in the corner, there is something very noteworthy. Geronimo Stilton's Topo Quiz. Dear friends, also in January, the director of Echo of the Rodent is present on the screens of Rysat Ragazzi every Friday at 1 p.m., 5 p.m., and 7:45 p.m. The most famous mouse in Italy is the guest of honor of Topo Quiz with Geronimo Stilton, a game that brings kids closer to topics such as road safety education, environmental education, the importance of proper nutrition, and play in a simple and fun way. In each episode, 2 teams must challenge each other with quizzes on a topic introduced by Geronimo Stilton and the presenter Gaia. Up for grabs for each correct answer are objects to create an environment inspired by the theme of the day. For example, in the episode dedicated to environmental education, depending on the points earned, the kids can get items such as trees, deer, squirrels, forest rangers, and signs to create a natural park. Geronimo and Gaia have the task of explaining the topic on the agenda and leading the game. External services and connections from Topazia will help the kids answer the questions correctly. In each episode, there will also be space for Geronimo's jokes and the story of his exciting adventures. You can't miss this stratospheric novelty. Right on the side is the only existing image from the Lost Quiz show. When I first came across this, I simply couldn't believe there was another one. So, was I able to find any more details about this quiz show? Well, upon going to Google, I was able to find another portfolio page, this one being for Gianni Coluzzi. When you read his portfolio, there are actually a few things that stand out. It says that he was the host of the Topo Quiz program. At another point in the article, it says that he did musical shows for schools and played Geronimo Stilton. Then at the top of the article, it says that he was an animator for Geronimo Stilton. This discovery both stunned me and confused me. Of course, I reached out to him, and I really do hope he answers someday because he seems like a genuine Geronimo superfan who clearly worked with the series in multiple different mediums. I found a few more scattered articles about this Topo Quiz show. This one, which was published in 2007, shows that the series was still airing at the time. A WordPress page from 2008 that I found also said it was still airing that year too. This means that it aired for multiple years and it's still completely lost. This Actors Workshop article also mentions Topo Quiz all the way at the bottom. 2005, Topo Quiz, directed by Di Santo Raisat Ragazzi. And then, as if things couldn't get any crazier, this was found right on YouTube.
Ciao ragazzi, spalancate le orecchiette, perché tutti i venerdì a Giga Blu ci sono io, Geronimo Stilton. Con gli stratopici piccoli ospiti del top show più blu del satellite parleremo di coraggio, mistero, amore, amicizia e, direttamente da Topazia, un sacco di storie da ridere in compagnia dei miei più cari amici. Allora, per 1000 mozzarelle, vi aspetto a Giga Blu, tutti i venerdì su Rai Sat Ragazzi. Parola di Stilton, Geronimo Stilton.
At first I thought it was a commercial for Topo Quiz, but it's not. This is a completely different Geronimo Stilton show called Giga Blue. And if you go back to Gianni's website, it actually mentions Giga Blue more than once. Gianni states that he was the host of both Topo Quiz and Giga Blue, which means he played Geronimo Stilton in this show too. Giga Blue also appears to be completely lost, but what even was it? It was time to search on the far reaches of Google once again. As I began my search, I found this article, which states that Giga Blue was a talk show. Geronimo will be in the studio next to the children in the audience, and together with them, he will address topics inspired by the books, in which he is the protagonist and which have made him famous throughout the world. So now we know what the show is about. It seems similar to Topo Quiz in a way, in that it's a live-action show featuring Geronimo Stilton that was also very educational. But was there anything more I could learn about it? Well, luckily for you, I unexpectedly made a huge discovery. By typing Giga Blue and then Geronimo Stilton, I found a bunch of articles, all from the same website. Every single one of these were actually plot details for different episodes. So let's see what some of these Giga Blue episodes were all about. Among the plot details I was able to find, I actually found one for what was the very first episode. Starting from February 11th, every Friday, the famous mouse journalist will be a guest at Giga Blue to chat and play with the children present in the studio. In the first episode, Geronimo Stilton will discuss the role of the family with the boys. There will be a joke competition and the art test for the boys, which in the episode of February 11 will consist of decorating a frame, which will then be given to Geronimo. Below every single one of these episode descriptions, there is also a description of what this show's schedule looked like. Here's one that sounds interesting. In this episode of Giga Blue, Geronimo will discuss mysteries and adventures together, with the conductors and the boys present in the studio. The director of L'Eco del Rodatore will tell the most unusual and mysterious cases he faced as a journalist. The guests of the episode will be Fiscanasso Squid, friend and companion of Geronimo. Finally, the boys in the studio will have to try their hand at the creation of a mysterious object, and of course, they will not miss the appointment with the joke competition for a challenge to the last laugh. There's a clear formula that this show seemed to have. Geronimo teaches something to a group of kids, a guest will sometimes come in to help with that, and then the kids will do an activity related to what they just learned. There's an episode about newspapers and journalists, an episode about travel and adventure, an episode about how to use your free time, and even an episode all about Christmas. These were just the episodes I could find a description for. There were clearly much more than these, but these actually paint a really solid picture as to what this lost show was all about. The main mystery regarding Giga Blue for me was, how was this YouTube video showing the commercial even posted? It's only a 4-year-old video and just appeared to have been uploaded randomly. I wondered if this poster found this clip off the internet, and in that case, I'd have to find it too. I searched high and low on Google for anywhere else that this commercial might be. I took several different screenshots from the video and reverse image searched them, but I couldn't find anything. As for Lost Geronimo Stilton shows, to my knowledge, this is where it ends. But who knows, maybe I'll find another completely lost show randomly in the next 2 days. This has unexpectedly become one of the deepest rabbit holes I have ever been a part of. From a lost animated pilot to a lost animated series to 2 more unrelated lost shows. It really does seem true that so many shows from this specific era in Italy became completely lost to time, which is a bit of a haunting thought to me. It was a sort of funny in-joke that I reached out to so many people and got almost no answers, but truthfully, many of these studios and teams have closed their doors. They've moved on. It's a stark reminder as to how easily stories, creativity, and art can just vanish. Not just in a literal sense, but in the minds of those that once enjoyed them. There was one more lost media mystery tied to Geronimo Stilton that I covered last time, and it was actually the very first one I uncovered. A mystery much more tied to the original books themselves. In the late 1990s, when Geronimo Stilton was first exploding in popularity, there were plans to make him become a true international sensation. As we know, an animated pilot was planned, and the Geronimo Stilton website was created. We visited this website before, but let's visit it one more time. As we saw, there are multiple charming sections to click on and interact with. One of these sections is the News section, and when clicking on it, this is what it says. Dear rodent friends, I have something very important to tell you. From now on, you can read my adventures also in ebook. My ebooks are 2, Geronimo Stilton's Illustrated Tales and Geronimo Stilton's Humorous Tales with the Secret Portrait Gallery. You can buy Geronimo Stilton's Illustrated Tales on the internet at cyberread.com. The other one, the one with the Secret Portrait Gallery, will be online very soon. As you can see, sometime in the early 2000s, Geronimo Stilton wanted to capitalize on the revolution of the internet. This section tells of 2 completely exclusive ebooks that are available to read on cyberread.com, one that's already out and one that will be released soon. So let's go there and see what they're all about. Sadly, cyberread.com does not exist anymore, but what even was Cyberread anyway? In my pursuit of answers, there was only one thing left to do: check the Wayback Machine. When visiting Cyberread during this same time in the early 2000s, we can see what the purpose of the website was. Cyberread.com was dedicated to offering ebooks online. There were paid options as well as free ebooks available on the site. One of the sections shows a list of the most popular ebooks on the site. Coming in at number 5 during the entire year of 2000 was Geronimo Stilton's Illustrated Tales. I decided to click the ebook, and when doing that, you get a short description about the Geronimo Stilton series. Sadly, no actual details regarding what this ebook actually was available here. What is given here was the book's ISBN, as well as at the bottom which says Glassbook Format. Glassbook Format is actually referring to an old company named Glassbook who used to make ebook readers. In scrubbing both the cyberread.com archives as well as the geronimostilton.it archives, I wasn't able to find any more details about either of these ebooks, even though they were supposedly quite popular. After looking through many different archives of cyberread.com to try and piece together anything about what may have happened here, all I have is this. In 2011, Cyberread shut down for good. It would make sense that these ebooks vanished with the site as it went down, right? But oddly enough, that doesn't appear to be what happened. It appears as if these ebooks vanished long before the website did. There actually doesn't seem to be a single archive referencing these ebooks on Cyberread after 2001, which was only about a year after they were introduced in the first place. This doesn't mean that they weren't sold after 2001, but at the very least, there is no archive showing that they were being sold after 2001. There must be more information out there about these ebooks, right? As of now, we still know basically nothing about them. My main question is, why? Why do these 2 ebooks seem to be totally lost? What happened here? When I first went down this rabbit hole a few months ago, I found just a few scattered mentions about these ebooks online. Each of these discoveries made me feel like I was solving a puzzle, without knowing how many pieces I was working with. One of the most notable finds was this. Real ebooks like our Geronimo Stilton's Humorous Tales presented in Frankfurt overcome the structural limits of paper. When you read, when you come across the name of a character, you can continue further or click and get information about him. We've inserted links that tell jokes, and you can add music and animations. The electronic book is a younger child only because it was born after the paper one, but its potential is immense. Reading something like this was just so fascinating. It finally gives us some details as to what these ebooks were like, and they seemed really advanced and interactive for their time, especially since ebooks were still so new. It sounds like I would have loved these if I got to read them as a kid. Once you zoom out, we can see another crazy discovery, an actual image of one of these ebooks. As the title shows, this was Geronimo Stilton's humorous tales with the secret portrait gallery, and it was the first time I saw an image of these mysterious ebooks. Probably the other most notable find lay deep within a PC Open magazine from 2001. PM beat other Italian publishers to the punch with ebooks, with 2 stories for children featuring Geronimo Stilton, a very well-known mouse publisher among the little ones. The first ebook can be read with the Microsoft Reader. It is called Geronimo Stilton's Illustrated Tales, costs $9.99, and can be purchased on the website www.cyberread.com. The other volume uses the Glassbook Reader, discussed in the detail box below. Both are in English, in order to compete for an international prize at the Frankfurt Book Fair. PM is working on 20 more new ebooks for children. Information on www.geronimostilton.it. This source tells us that these 2 ebooks both use different formats. Geronimo Stilton's Illustrated Tales used Glassbook Reader, as we said earlier, and then the Secret Portrait Gallery used Microsoft Reader. Best of all, we can see another image of this in action. It ends by saying that 20 more ebooks were coming, and this is something we'll get back to later. But by far the greatest discovery of them all was actually through a connection that I made. When I first discovered that Geronimo Stilton had lost media, it was because of this Reddit post. The Reddit user Visual Aid created this post outlining everything, and I reached out to him soon after. He mentioned that on Valentine's Day in 2024, he was bored and randomly got some Geronimo Stilton nostalgia. He went on the Internet Archive and just happened to click the year 2000. When he did that, he was greeted with the same message we were. The idea that lost media can be this obscure, just waiting to be discovered like that, really stuck with me. These ebooks, which apparently were very popular and even groundbreaking in a way, were not only completely forgotten, but they only got discovered again by complete accident. I thought about how much art that once mattered to so many children and families has been effectively buried and forgotten. Visual Aid made so many important discoveries related to these ebooks. He put the 2 ebooks on Open Library and even began a subreddit called CyberRead Archives to post his findings. One of the most notable of these has to do with Microsoft. As we know, Geronimo Stilton's humorous tales was read with Microsoft Reader, but it appears that there was much more of a partnership than it previously appeared. In a La Stampa newspaper from 2000, it says that, in the meantime, Stilton is also distributed as a demo, that is, a free sample, by Microsoft Italy, and according to the head of the PM publishing house, it is precisely this that shows the way. I believe that the future of the electronic book is in the sectors dedicated to children, and in general to schools, where the real advantage of interactivity can be immediately appreciated. In a 2002 PC Open magazine, it stated that Geronimo Stilton and Microsoft were forming an official partnership that would take them to schools to organize initiatives for children and training sessions for their teachers. Despite all of this, these ebooks still managed to become lost. At this point, I seemed to hit a dead end in my search. I couldn't seem to find any new information, but I wasn't able to accept that this might be all that I would get. I started a free trial with newspapers.com to search their archives in hopes that I'd be able to find something, but since newspaper.com deals entirely with American newspapers, it wasn't of much help. Luckily for me, La Stampa, which is one of the main newspaper publishers in Italy, does have a free archive that I could search. When I typed Geronimo Stilton ebook, I actually got 4 results. A few of these results share information we were already familiar with, but there was one that stood out. This article brings up the ebooks once again and specifically mentions that it speaks English, before again mentioning that it participated at the Frankfurt eBook Award. It once again mentions how these ebooks use Microsoft Reader and Adobe Glassbook respectively, before explaining several things that make these ebooks stand out. The electronic book offers various opportunities for interactivity. Click on the name of a character and a window opens with his description, another on a word whose meaning is unknown and the dictionary opens. As soon as Microsoft Reader technology is further developed, it will be possible to insert sounds and animate drawings, opportunities that will make ebooks for children, and not only them, even more interesting. Finally, it states that PM plans to add another 20 ebooks between now and June 2001. This is the second mention of that desire to make 20 more of these ebooks, and it was also yet another mention that specifically mentioned this ebook being in English. Was there a significance to that? It appears that there was. In this archive of a PC Open website from 2000, it appears to question why these ebooks were in English. Was it because of the competition, or was it a prudent move? Remember that when we were first introduced to these two ebooks on the Geronimo Stilton website, all of the contents were in Italian, but these two titles were fully in English. These ebooks were in English during a time when Geronimo Stilton media was still in Italian, and could have been the very first instance of Geronimo Stilton being published in English. In a way, this would have made these ebooks a hugely important chapter in Geronimo Stilton's legacy, a moment where this mouse not only pioneered ebook reading, but also began his reign as a true international sensation. These two ebooks were completely original stories that were highly interactive and popular. Not only were they a bestseller on the website they were being sold on, but there was an official Microsoft partnership that may have also distributed samples of these ebooks. Yet despite this popularity, they're nowhere to be found. Despite everything we went over, the website that originally sold them may have only sold them for a limited time. And despite all of our research, we still haven't even found plot details for these two ebooks. So that all just begs the question, how did these ebooks get lost? Why were they removed from cyberread.com? And finally, if these books were so popular, why haven't they surfaced yet? Why did they seem to have been completely forgotten? The main theory that I originally discussed in my first Geronimo Stilton video is still the prevailing theory here. When researching to help find the answer to this question, yet another PC Open magazine from 2000 came to the rescue. When discussing these Geronimo Stilton ebooks, it mentions that once you've acquired the book, it cannot be stamped or copied. It says that they could be transferred to another person, but that would lead to the person who purchased it losing it completely, creating a possibility in which it could not be preserved. This was clearly a decision that was done to limit piracy and redistribution, but with no foresight on how this could affect the archival process. Is it possible that this decision is why these ebooks became so lost and obscure? While I don't think this accounts for everything, I do think it was likely a major reason as to why these ebooks did in fact become lost. That still doesn't explain why they suddenly disappeared off of Cyberread in 2001. After all of this searching, I still haven't been able to figure out why these ebooks seem to suddenly disappear off of Cyberread. That would clearly be another major factor as to why these ebooks became lost, but unfortunately, I still have no answer for what happened there. But we aren't ending things here, because I just found out that there were more than just 2 lost ebooks. About 2 weeks ago from writing this, an Italian YouTuber named Poldo created a video all about Geronimo Stilton. This video actually mainly focuses on Geronimo Stilton's Internet Manual, a really obscure physical Geronimo Stilton book all about the early internet. It seemed to have been a humorous crash course on internet safety and education. Poldo did some absolutely incredible work by finding a physical copy of the book and then scanning and uploading the entirety of it to the Internet Archive for us all to enjoy. By doing so, you can see just how much personality it has and how genuinely educational it was. As you scroll through the pages, there actually is a reference to the ebooks. This section basically explains what an ebook is before saying this at the bottom. Geronimo Stilton has already created 2 electronic books, in which you can find at www.cyberread.com. It's not the most notable discovery, but to my knowledge, it is the only time an actual Geronimo Stilton book mentions the existence of these ebooks. Part of me wondered why this internet manual, which seemed so excited about the future the internet could provide, didn't have an ebook of its own, until I realized that it did. In this article from 2002 about publishers in Milan, Italy, Geronimo Stilton was naturally brought up, but what I read shocked me. The article mentions the phenomenal success of Geronimo Stilton and then says, the character enabled Marietta and his associate Elisabetta Dami, Geronimo's creator, to launch what was billed as Italy's first ebook, Mio Primo Manuale di Internet di Geronimo Stilton, winner of the first Children's Ebook Award at last year's Bologna Fair. That's right. There was yet another ebook created about Geronimo Stilton, and it may have been even older than the other two. Luckily, the title makes it so that its contents are much less of a mystery than these other two ebooks. It was clearly just an ebook version of Geronimo Stilton's internet manual, but the fact that it won an award of that magnitude seemed really significant, making the obscurity of all of this sad to me. But was there anything else to learn about this ebook? This magazine from Computer Idea, found by that same YouTuber Poldo, also mentions this internet manual ebook and says that it was published in 2002, the same year it won the Bologna Fair ebook award. That would actually mean that this internet manual ebook was more recent than the other two ebooks, so its title as Italy's first ebook is kinda confusing. One of the only instances of this ebook being discussed online was found in an old Corriere webpage. This article describes this ebook as winning the ebook award, but then mentions that Geronimo Stilton accompanies children to discover the internet with quizzes, games, direct links, and a dictionary to understand the difficult terms of the internet. Even if this book was a mostly digital version of the internet manual, it still appeared to have been heavily interactive, just like the other ebooks. If I go back to La Stampa's archives now, perhaps having this Bologna Fair award as a new search term could get me somewhere. As it turns out, it did. There were a few references of this ebook winning the Bologna Fair award online, the most notable of which being this newspaper from April 8th, 2002. This article once again crowns Geronimo Stilton's internet manual as the king of children's ebooks, but below that it gives some more details. It says that the story began last year in 2001, where PM named him as the protagonist of the first ebook for children. They even managed to ask Geronimo Stilton himself about it, and he had this to say: "For Zero Mozzarella, my mustaches are smirring with emotion. I'm glad my book won the award as the best ebook in the world for children. I feel a bit of a pioneer, and I'm happy to be able to participate and make my contribution to this great adventure that is the ebook." What a humble guy. Truthfully, he's right. And the saddest part is, nobody seems to remember this anymore. From everything we've seen so far, Geronimo Stilton really did appear to be a pioneer. He was a fresh, original character that exploded in the late 90s. He captured the hearts of millions of children and stepped into a whole new digital world with grace. I'm sure that the vast majority of the people who read these ebooks back then were children, so when these ebooks all disappeared, it seems that nobody really questioned it. They were all just slowly forgotten. And I think the same goes for other forms of lost media as well. We found several shows that aired on public TV for years, and an animated series that may or may not have happened. And remember, this entire rabbit hole only began by complete accident. The fact in particular makes me think about how many things out there really are lost, especially in this new digital world we have created. There must be so many forms of media with mundane backstories just like this that have been completely forgotten, without anyone to look for them. Lost media oftentimes isn't nearly as flashy as its most famous stories. Instead, they usually involve the stories we actually lose. Even in more modern years, Geronimo Stilton hasn't been safe of lost media. In 2010, it appears that a Geronimo Stilton app was released for the App Store and Google Play Store. This article describes Edison PM as being the first publishers in Italy to create and market apps for their most popular books. The app is described as featuring a few of his most popular books. It mentions that the digital versions of these books feature a complete audio version as well. You're able to write, underline, highlight, make brief notes on the page, write on a note paper, place a bookmark, and even record brief audio tracks. Doesn't this all sound a little familiar? Every time a new character appears in the story, an icon on the side of the text indicates that there is a profile of the character. Games. At the beginning of each book, there are 4 games, such as Find the Hidden Detail, Identify the Differences, Find the Right Shadow, and Find the Intruder. Ebooks that are completely interactive, with character profiles to click on, mini-games to play, bookmarks, and the ability to highlight and underline. This app truly looked as if it was the spiritual successor to the ebooks that were created all those years ago. Luckily for us, there is quite a bit of footage of it in action. There's a moment where we can see that there were a number of ebooks in this app available to read. These did all appear to be direct copies of existing books rather than original stories, but it unearths yet another rabbit hole as the app was removed over 10 years ago. In February of 2023, it was announced that a Geronimo Stilton feature film adaptation was officially in the works at Radar Pictures, with David Soren set to direct. Soren is best known for directing the Captain Underpants movie, and I think he'd be an excellent fit for Geronimo Stilton. This same article also provides a synopsis for the movie. The feature will see Geronimo stumble on a conspiracy that is bigger than anything he and his collaborators have ever tackled before. But working together, they attempt to stay one step ahead of the enemy in a game of cat and mouse. A poster was shared in June 2023 and shows an animation style that looks very different than anything we've seen before in the series. Unfortunately, since 2023, news regarding this movie has been kind of radio silence. Time will tell if this movie really does come to be, or if it becomes yet another project only available in our minds. When I first found out that there was lost media tied to Geronimo Stilton, I was met with such a unique range of emotions. I instantly got deeply nostalgic and began remembering how much I used to love these books. I remembered how fun it made reading to me as a child. Instead of being intimidated, I was invited into the world of New Mouse City, and I spent a lot of time there. At the same time, my interest was piqued at the fact that he had lost media at all. There's a certain, almost profound sadness in discovering that there was lost media so obscure that it was only ever found by complete accident. And that was exactly when I thought about how I had forgotten about Geronimo that same way for so many years. I'm so glad that we were able to find such a large amount of information for this video, but even with all those finds, so many mysteries remain. I can't think of a franchise that has this much lost media mysteries tied to it, and it only makes sense that this mystery-solving mouse would have such a mysterious history of his own. Hopefully, it doesn't have to stay that way forever. Maybe in the future I'll finally get the response I've been waiting for, or maybe in the future some random person will finally unearth an ebook from their old hard drive or ebook reader. Only time will tell. I've been invited back into New Mouse City, and this time I don't plan on forgetting about it again. If you watched this far, I'd love to hear your Geronimo Stilton memories. Did you have a favorite book, a favorite character? Have you known of Geronimo Stilton since your childhood, or did you only just discover him as I went down this mystery? Let's come together as a community and appreciate these wonderful books. And maybe, if enough of us come together, we can solve this lost media mystery and help Geronimo Stilton once and for all. Of all the cartoons that are currently on TV, I'm not sure if there's one I enjoy more than Smiling Friends. With its lovably weird cast of characters, this zany show has captured the spirit of the internet and has made millions of people smile across the globe. I think it's this unwavering core that has truly allowed this show to explode in popularity the way it did. Despite the constant chaos and the unhinged, ironic, realistic comedy that this show showcases, the core of it always remains simple. It's just about two guys whose job is to make people smile. And regardless of what happens, they never give up on their pursuits. As silly as it sounds, I think there is something powerful to say about their perseverance. It makes the series so much more than just a crude adult cartoon. I mentioned that Smiling Friends is in many ways a love letter to the internet, and that's because its creators Zach Hadel and Michael Cusack made their names on Newgrounds and YouTube. As a result, this series is laden with in-jokes, references, and tributes to the internet.
Number 15. Could I get the number 15?
So it only made sense that it would garner such a strong online presence.
Hold on, it's fine.
I knew I was gonna do that.
There are countless of tribute channels and joke channels dedicated to Smiling Friends in one way or another, but I don't think any of them stand out the way this one does. This is the Cool Autistic Gamer 774. On the surface, everything appears pretty standard. Its profile pic seems to be based on Morty from Rick and Morty, as his hair and especially those eyes have the unmistakable style found in that series. There are just 2 community posts that have been made on this channel, and again, they aren't too noteworthy. By all accounts, this is just a channel that showcases Smiling Friends clips, right? The very first video on this channel is a clip of the Doug Walker cameo in Smiling Friends, uploaded on May 27th, 2024, which was actually the same day the real Smiling Friends episode came out. All is normal until the last 10 seconds.
And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that. Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool autistic gamer 774. Subscribe for more and hit a like if you liked it. Thank you.
The description appears to be a cloud of different keywords and tags, and there was also a comment from the channel author saying, "This is cool, LMAO." As you can tell, this isn't necessarily the most noteworthy upload in the world. With its crude audio and that drawn-on smile for Charlie, this video looks like the countless other fan-made Smiling Friends videos that exist on YouTube. Maybe the next video will stand out more.
Dip it with that, and you just know you enjoy it. It's good. Now you try.
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool autistic gamer 774. Subscribe for more and hit a like if you liked it. Thank you.
Well, unfortunately, the next 6 videos follow the exact same formula that the first one did. A clip of Smiling Friends where at the end the creator thanks us for watching it.
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool autistic gamer 774.
These clips were mostly made in tandem with a new episode of the show releasing, and people began finding them, not really knowing what to do with this at all.
New from Debunk File. Feeling nostalgic? Grab these totally tubular tees from 1900-shop.fourthwall.com today. We have something for everyone. Tees, hoodies, hats, stickers, you name it, Debunk File has it. We just introduced a new wicked design. Front and back so everyone knows your style is the bomb from every angle. You can get that and our original designs as sweaters for all you cold weather lovers out there. If you're tired of looking like a square, trust us, we care. Visit 1900-shop.fourthwall.com today. Stay for a while, it's Debunk File.
In the Joel Haver clip, the comedic timing almost feels like it could have been in the actual episode itself.
I ought to knock your block off, you little freak.
What? Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip.
However, things really begin changing in the Infiltrating the UFO Cult video. What starts as another normal clip becomes this.
Meet Phil, Fillmore, and Duncan. Oh, and how could I forget? The cool autistic gamer 774.
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool autistic gamer 774. Subscribe for more and hit a like if you liked it. Thank you.
The comments were quickly in a frenzy. Not only was there seemingly an AI voice of Pim shouting out the channel, but the final voiceover shows the profile pic, this time being fully animated. People were quick to point out that this must be some sort of inside joke that breached containment, or that this channel has to be made by someone that worked on the show. As many people pointed out, this felt like the exact type of inside joke this show's creators would have made. However, there would be no confirmation in any direction. There would only be more videos. So, what's next? Well, the next video, The Earth is Flat, starts with the clip from the episode, until Pim actually spots the channel's creator floating in space.
This can't be real. Wait, Charlie, is that the cool autistic gamer 774?
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool autistic gamer 774. Subscribe for more and hit a like if you liked it. Thank you.
The comments now were more confused and fascinated than ever. Most notably, if you listen really carefully to the audio during Pim's voiceover at the end, you can hear unintelligible audio from somebody else.
Charlie, is that the cool autistic gamer 774?
So is this an AI voice for Pim, or is it just something else? And is this channel just a shitpost driving everybody insane, or is there more to it? In the next few videos, it appears as if the lip syncing and the placements of the ending message is getting more and more complex.
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool autistic gamer 774. Subscribe for more and hit a like if you liked it. Thank you.
The next video was Charlie CPR, and I don't think anything could have braced me for this ending.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, I already told you.
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool autistic gamer 774. Subscribe for more and hit a like if you liked it. Thank you. This
bit has rapidly reached levels that I didn't even think was possible. The comments were still in awe, many were shocked and impressed with how much better the animations were getting, and many were sure now more than ever that this had to be the work of somebody involved with the show. But there were no direct answers anywhere. Then there was the Jason's demise video.
Like the boss said, man, I'm sure if he needs something, he'll let us know.
Oh yeah, wow, real nice handiwork with the blow dart, the cool autistic idiot 774. I swear, you'll just find any reason to use that stupid thing. I honestly don't know what Charlie sees in you, you're just a complete moron.
Yeah, at this point, the quality seems to be getting too good. But honestly, what may have been even more noticeable to me than the animation was actually Alan's voice. Unlike Pim's in the previous videos, this voice actually sounds pretty authentic.
Oh yeah, wow, real nice handiwork with the blow dart, the cool autistic idiot 774.
But it's still just a tiny bit off. What the hell is going on here? People keep saying this guy is possibly on the team, but a strong love for your special interests can do wonders to your art skills. It's entirely possible that he's gotten really good at animating in the Smiling Friends style, but makes it a point to keep his persona distinct. That being said, it would also be highly unrealistic to be posting high quality animations this frequently if you aren't a professional. Okay, now I'm convinced it's Zach and Michael running this account. As you can see, the comments were still sort of split. People pointed out how a fan could reach this level of dedication. However, these clips were also being made as Season 2 was actively airing. As a result, fans thought this channel could actually appear in an episode by the time the season ended. Unfortunately for them, that would not happen. However, less than 1 hour after the Season 2 finale, lo and behold, there was a new Smiling Friends clip.
I guess Rotten the Snowman came to life.
Wow, I'm alive? Whee!
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool autistic gamer 774. Subscribe for more and hit a like if you liked it. Thank you.
I think the best thing about these videos are the fact that you never know exactly how these endings will appear. They surprise you every time. But most importantly, the fact that this episode appeared less than an hour after Season 2's finale and had animation of this quality might confirm what many fans suspected, that this channel was the work of somebody involved with the show this entire time. But who was pulling the strings exactly, and why? Unfortunately, this would be the last time we'd hear of this channel for a very long time, as after Season 2 ended, it, as well as Smiling Friends, took a much-deserved break. This break would last over a year, giving fans ample time to speculate about what exactly was going on here. In early 2025, a new theory began emerging as to who the owner of this channel could be, and believe it or not, it was actually somebody that was not involved with the creation of Smiling Friends at all. That person is Ari Weimer. From what I can tell, Ari Weimer seems to be a YouTube animator with a presence across YouTube and Twitter. People believe that his voice and some of his animations sound very similar to the cool autistic gamer 774.
I actually got you a cool gift today. So...
Pie, peace, hammer, and sickle.
People also think that the animation itself is very similar to what we see in the cool autistic gamer videos. There's also some screenshots showing video descriptions that looked quite similar to what we saw on the clip channel, and when a viewer pointed it out, the description changed. Apparently, he was interviewed by a YouTuber named Lodaluck who asked him if he was the cool autistic gamer 774, and he supposedly didn't deny it. But watching the video itself, it is almost incomprehensible.
Did I say that?
When he says this,
I don't know what that is.
This one, when he
I have some other interesting topics actually.
Yeah, here we go.
So like, do you want to hear them?
Hey
boys,
I
like Travis Scott, and I like to walk. I like wartime.
Ari, does everyone know that you're cool autistic gamer? Does everyone know you're cool autistic
there it's coming out. Wait, how do you know who I am?
Because I know that you listen.
Wait, so maybe that adds maybe perhaps that adds some credibility to the easy to be allegations. Well, if you know who I am, it's all coming out.
Yeah, a lot of the evidence here is pretty messy. This theory also does not explain how quickly these videos are being made. While some aspects of this channel are eyebrow-raising, none of the evidence presented here feels definitive enough to prove anything. Longtime fans of the Smiling Friends crew also pointed out that Michael Cusack had actually made a parody YouTube channel somewhat like this in the past called Lucas the Magnificent, showing that he really could be behind this all. But it also could have been Zach. After all, Charlie smiles during every single one of these videos. Or could it be them both? Or a random member of the production crew? As the break continued, fans suddenly had more questions than ever. But we're not in that break anymore, are we? No, Smiling Friends is back, and right on cue, the channel returned as well.
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip of the cool...
Man, I guess the cool autistic gamer 774 was dealing with some budget cuts here, because this is not the level of quality I was expecting. The next video was a clip of the silly Samuel crash out. This is a much longer clip than usual, and right at the beginning there was already a difference.
What? Because of the cool autistic gamer 774's shitty renovations?
After that early voiceover from Alan and the reveal of the Smiling Friends building being replaced by the Morty head, it actually rolls away like it does in the episode. However, unlike the episode, Glep is not here to put the building back in place. It actually kills the entire crowd instead.
Please, seriously, get out of the way, please!
Then, this happens.
Hi, you just watched...
Sorry.
What?
Sorry, the cool autistic gamer 774. Not now. Just not now, please.
Oh, come on, Pim. Let him do his little thing.
We just watched 20 people die, Charlie.
Yeah, but he's
and it was his face. His face just squashed like 20 people. It's too soon for him to do his thing. He's not. It's too soon. Too soon, Charlie. Too soon.
No?
This video absolutely shocked me, as well as everyone else watching it. It's also basically the biggest confirmation we can get without the creators outright stating what is happening here. The level of effort and quality here genuinely seems impossible without it being an inside job, with the video itself essentially being an alternate ending to the episode, complete with some classic realistic dialogue on top of it all. I like how irregularly they talk. It's like it's just off enough to be debated. In the following video, Pim's song, there is another monumental reveal. While Pim is singing his song, there's a clip of a couple making out. The reason why this is so notable is because during the trailer for this episode, but in the actual episode itself,
what about love? Another thing that's good. Love makes the world feel yummy and good.
This is another reveal that pretty much proves that this channel is genuinely the work of someone involved with the show, before the video ends the way they all do.
I don't know who you are, but I think you've helped me. Thank you.
Pim, listen to me. I need you to stay with me, dude. How many fingers am I holding up? Can you see?
Hi, you just watched a cool cartoon clip.
The next video showcases a clip from the Mole Man episode. Funny enough, if there was any episode that could realistically feature the character behind this YouTube channel, it would have probably been that one, as the Mole Man spied, watched, and took pictures of Pim and Charlie for months. So perhaps it makes sense that the ending to this video is not at all like the other ones.
You know, Charlie, this adventure kinda reminded me of someone.
Oh, yeah, huh? And when was the last time we saw that someone? Yeah, that's what I thought.
And that leads us up to what is the final video so far, though it definitely won't stay that way. With every new episode, there's been a new video to accompany it. This one was actually the first to have a premiere, which led fans to really wonder what might make this one stand out. With bated breath, they waited, until at last, it premiered, and guess what? It's the only clip that is completely unedited. That is yet another instance that shows off how sneakily self-aware this channel really is, and with everything we've discussed so far, I can't see how this channel isn't connected to the show directly. From complex animation within minutes of a new episode, to the type of comedic timing and humor that the show genuinely would have, this YouTube channel has to be connected to the show, and this commenter puts it best. This is 1000 a bit. Imagine a guy who made fan art for a show and it just got better and better to the point it was just real. How long do you think it would take people to notice? Well, it seems that most of the Smiling Friends community has noticed by now, and living up to that idea, the channel and the show has purposely not confirmed the connection, but has gotten as close as you can possibly get to where you could still debate about it. In short, this channel is a masterclass in gaslighting. Or maybe it isn't, maybe it's all in my head. Whatever the case, it's clear that this channel won't be going anywhere anytime soon. The videos keep getting more and more eventful, and I don't expect that to change. Fans have wondered for over a year, when will the show or the creators acknowledge the channel? And I can only imagine how hard it makes them laugh for an in-joke like this to be covered like this. Just like the show itself, this channel and the hilarious mystery it has created feels so in line with the spirit of the internet, and for me, it only feels right to end this video in a true, full circle moment. As many of you know, my first ever video on this channel was none other than Freddy Freaker, a mystery that for a while was planned to be the only video on this channel. When we covered Freddy, he was very mysterious, but had recently become a meme in a large part due to Oni Plays.
Peter, Freddy Freaker's dancing in a living room!
Jesus f***ing Christ.
Of course, Zach Haydel has always been heavily involved with Oni Plays, and Chris O'Neill, creator of Oni Plays, has been involved with Smiling Friends. That's why I'm taking this moment to formally request, or demand, for Freddy Freaker to become the star of a future Smiling Friends episode. In basically every single way, I don't think there is anyone I can think of who would be more deserving. From his iconic design to the absurdity of his jointed limbs never even being used during the commercial in favor of that T-pose, he would fit seamlessly into this universe. I could totally see him having a similar story to somebody like Gwimbly, and just like him, I think Freddy deserves to smile on the biggest stage possible. Zach and Michael, make it happen. r/advice is one of Reddit's most popular subreddits. It of course is a place where you can ask your questions, whether they are standard or strange, with the gift of anonymity. The subreddit boasts 3.4 million weekly visitors, and of course some people are bound to ask things that are weirder than usual. Around 7 months ago, Reddit user Kiwi Kikwi posted on r/advice asking what to do about a strange little girl in their neighborhood.
There's a little girl that's terrorizing my apartment. This is a very bizarre situation that I have never been in before. Sorry for the dramatic title, but it's becoming an actual issue now. For the last month, it feels like 90% of the time I go outside to my car, an 8-year-old girl and her dog appear and try to interact with me. Sounds cute, right? That's what I thought, until I realized it wasn't.
New from Debunk File. Feeling nostalgic? Grab these totally tubular tees from 1900-shop.fourthwall.com today. We have something for everyone. Tees, hoodies, hats, stickers, you name it, Debunk File has it. We just introduced a new wicked design. Front and back so everyone knows your style is the bomb from every angle. You can get that and our original designs as sweaters for all you cold weather lovers out there. If you're tired of looking like a square, trust us, we care. Visit 1900-shop.fourthwall.com today. Stay for a while, it's Debunk File.
The first time she came up to me, she ran from across the parking lot and said, "I think my dog likes you." I thought it was kind of sweet, until she got a little too close for comfort, started repeating that same line over and over and giggling very loudly, almost manically. She wouldn't leave me alone until I physically walked away. She even followed me to the apartment door, talking non-stop. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe she's neurodivergent. No judgment, I have ADHD and probably more. I didn't think much of it until it became a daily thing. I work from home and go outside a few times a day for breaks. Yes, I smoke, working on quitting. She's always out there with her dog, not a parent in sight. I started noticing red flags when her mood began flipping between happiness and sudden anger. She hits her dog a lot. She'll scream, "Quiet, quiet, quiet," and punch her dog with each word. I've seen her drag the dog while it's pooping, so it has to walk while going, and the dog cries. It is awful to witness. She runs up to anyone outside. Delivery drivers, residents, other dog owners, and repeats, "I think my dog likes you," over and over until they respond. If someone has a dog, she'll walk up to them too closely, while their dogs are barking aggressively. I've seen multiple residents literally pick up their pets and speed walk away from her. People have started cracking the exit door and scanning for her before they step outside. There's construction happening next door, and she just hangs out with the workers. They ignore her now, but she'll bring them offerings of handfuls of grass or her dog. It's honestly surreal. When I'm outside and have to smoke, I now drive to a spot off the property just to get personal space. If I stay near my car, she'll follow me and stand right in front of it, waving at me in a pageant-style, fingers pressed together wave. I don't even make eye contact. She'll just do it for like 30 seconds, just smiling. If I drive into the parking lot, she sometimes chases my car to where I park. Last week, I was sitting in my car listening to music and didn't notice her. When I looked up, she jumped up from a crouch, face pressed to my driver's side window. I felt like I had a heart attack, but also pretended not to see her because of what the f***. She's out at all hours. Last night it was 9 PM and dark. She was alone with the dog. Today it was 12:30 PM on a Thursday. Shouldn't she be in school? I don't know what's going on. I have never dealt with something like this before. It's gone from weird to uncomfortable to genuinely worrying. It feels unsafe for the dog, and definitely even for her. I'm worried she could walk up to a weirdo and something bad could happen, or she could cause a dog fight and her and the dogs could get seriously injured. Is there someone I should call? How do I report this kind of situation without escalating it unnecessarily? I don't want to overstep, but this just feels wrong.
On the surface, it's a really creepy story and reminds me of Betty from the Tranquility Lane section of Fallout 3. That part always creeped me out. Of course, looking deeper, it's a heart-crushing scenario if it's the truth. The OP has given some updates and responded to multiple comments. They mentioned how they called the local police, the Department of Human Services, and Child Protective Services. They said they were able to video the girl for proof to give to the authorities. It's a tough situation because anything like this could be fake. However, in an instance like this, asking for proof is impossible. The OP would be part of the problem if they themselves took pictures of a minor and uploaded them to Reddit without anyone's consent. The OP even mentioned how they had some real creeps asking for the location of the little girl in their DMs. As of writing, there are no updates on this case of the little girl terrorizing an apartment complex. This is definitely something to keep an eye on. If it's true, the OP did the right thing. If not, it's just another spooky story. One of my personal favorite subreddits has got to be r/deepintoyoutube. The locals of this subreddit love finding unknown videos from the depths of YouTube, and as someone whose entire life revolves around the platform, seeing old school creepy videos and shitposts is always a blast. A lot of the time people find some truly strange channels/videos like this one posted by Borgies. The title of this post is simple. Dude has over 700 videos with the same title, all silent. The OP was not kidding. This channel, Jacob Wild, has a massive catalog of the same video over and over and over again, all titled Neighbors Above. They're extremely basic, just a guy sitting in his apartment silently smoking a cigarette. Occasionally he'll look up in annoyance, presumably at his upstairs neighbors. It seems strange at first, but after skimming through a few of the uploads, there's nothing creepy going on at all. It's definitely an oddity on YouTube, but there are plenty of channels that are weirder than this. The only question I and the subreddit have is, why? What is the point of all these videos? And I think this comment from Limeboy on the initial post sums it up perfectly. Dude is just collecting the magnum opus of complaints. 700 examples will hopefully be enough, just in time for the upstairs neighbors to move out anyway. I think this is most definitely the case here. Every single video is documenting the obnoxious noises his neighbors make, and you can hear loud banging in several of the uploads. It's highly likely that yes, this guy is just saving all of this proof to one day show to the community that he lives in. As of writing this, the oldest video documenting the neighbors above is 8 months old, and the most recent was 2 days ago on October 17th. I doubt this is something that will end in a big explanation, but I hope that one day he's able to set his pesky neighbors straight, if that's really what's going on here. For this next post, I will issue a warning. If you are sensitive to gore, real or fake, skip ahead to the next post. This post comes from r/whatisIt, a simple sub where people can post anything and ask, well, what is it? A little under a month ago from writing, the OP Call Me Whatever 1994 posted this with the title, "My friend found this at our thrift store." Of course, finding this, an extremely human-looking mask at a thrift store, is downright terrifying. The caption underneath it reads, "We live in a super small valley, 3 towns like 1,800 people each maybe, and we put it on our local page to ask who donated it. No one has admitted to it yet. Some comments said death mask, etc. Any ideas?" Of course, the comments were ablaze. This mask just looks so real, nobody even knew what to think. I don't even know what to think. I'm not a coroner or a taxidermist or anything of the sort, so my guess is genuinely as good as yours. I wish I was able to find some sort of sign that proves this is genuine or fake. The OP was able to post even more pictures of it, including the inside of the mask. Luckily in their search, somebody did reach out claiming to have another one, and yep, lo and behold, there's images of a second mask. The person who reached out told the OP that they dug it out of the dumpster from the thrift store, which is so strange. They compared the masks, and of course they are sister pieces, they look almost identical. Something gross someone pointed out is the stitching here on the back. It seems like it could add some truth to these things being the faces of actual human beings. The OP could not get any more lucky as yet another person reached out during their inquiry about the masks. They said, "I donated it. It's one of 2. I thought it was time to release them. They are masks of my brother-in-law who is an artist and his husband. My brother-in-law made the masks. They have both passed away. His brother-in-law was the LA County coroner for many years. Unfortunately, the masks were separated just due to the way they were packed when I made my donation." I think we were expecting a lot more of a definitive answer. I know I was. This could be anything, and the comment doesn't explain what the context of the masks are either. One answer leads to 1,000 extra questions. The last update the OP made was another screenshot from the same commenter. Both men were named Douglas. The one shown by Carrie is my brother-in-law. The Dougs would love to know that they made such a stir in the valley. I do wish they stayed together, but this is spreading the magic around. We got some information about the people involved, namely their names being Doug, but that's really about it. The comments were still screaming at the OP to find some more information because this is not at all a closed case. One commenter mentioned that not a single Doug was found as a coroner in LA. It's possible Doug worked for the precinct, but not as acting coroner. I'm really not sure here. As of right now, that's all the information we have. Who knows what will come of this? It's something we definitely will revisit if any more information comes to light. What do you guys think? Is this some kind of macabre art project, or something a lot more twisted? We've covered a lot of weird notes in previous episodes of Reddit Deep Dives, and this one from the subreddit r/weird joins the list. Posted by Philip Italian 1997, it reads, "Somebody left a stack of 1s in my tip jar. This note was hidden between the bills." The note itself, of course, is fittingly weird, repeating the phrase, "You aren't going to prison" 19 times. Most commenters were making jokes about how this OP has a bunch of get out of jail free cards, or that the OP is definitely going to prison. There isn't really too much of a mystery to solve here, unfortunately, it's just very strange. Multiple comments pointed out that it could be some form of anxiety coping or OCD. A lot of people who suffer from anxiety disorders usually have some form of mantra coping, and prison paranoia is a very real fear that anxious people suffer from. It's possible the note is just a way for the person to calm down, similar to the grounding method, or just the repetition of a phrase to come back to reality. I'm 99% sure that there is nothing malicious here, just a strange note that ended up in the wrong tip jar. This next post comes from the ever-popular r/Ask Reddit subreddit. The OP simply asked, "Who's the scariest person you've met?" Before I share the top comment on this post, I want to share my personal scariest person encounter. So, Jiff and I are big fans of getting out, touching grass, visiting comic stores, thrift stores, theme parks, etc. On these adventures, we always seem to meet the strangest folks. One early morning on our way to Disney World, we stopped at Dunkin' Donuts. There were 4 of us in that group, and as we were ordering, this really weird guy just walked in. He was dressed in a work uniform and made strange noises that resembled the Penguin from Batman Returns. He leaned his head on the hanging menu and was just being an overall nuisance. He then proceeded to ask if we'd ever seen a dead body before, and then started banging his head on the menu. Nothing happened after that, but the Penguin was truly the strangest fellow we have ever encountered on a day out.
Editor's note. Yeah, that's not true at all. What really happened was, Seth bolted out of the Dunkin' right after he got his food and left me with the guy as he kept banging his head on the menu.
Anyways, back to the post at hand. The top comment on this post is truly bone-chilling. When I was a kid, we lived on a lake, and there was a lakefront owners meeting every year. It was a few houses down from ours. The children were brought and we would eat a lot of appetizers, color some, hang out in a certain area with a babysitter, but as we all arrived, we were expected to say hello to the adults. One year, there was a new owner on the lake. The lake was pretty small, so there were maybe 15 owners at the meeting. I remember being very creeped out by the new owner. He just had a bad vibe. I remember as we walked home after my brother and I told my mom we didn't like him. Cut to 6 years later, my family had moved away to a different part of the state, and we were watching the news and realized the helicopter footage was of our lake. The police had identified and arrested the Green River Killer that terrorized Western Washington in the 80s and 90s. Eventually, the image as Gary Ridgway came up and my blood ran cold. That was the owner I didn't like, and that's how I met the most prolific serial killer in the US to this point. Of course, it's impossible to determine whether or not the OP is lying, but who knows? I've heard countless stories of people knowing serial killers before knowing their crimes, and it has to be one of the most frightening things to ever experience. The man or woman that you knew, lived close to, worked with, were friends with, turned out to be a heartless monster. It's enough to keep me up at night. For our next post, we are returning once more to r/deep into YouTube. This guy found a YouTuber who has no videos, but has been rating the taste of scented candles and broken English on his community tab for over a year at this point. The photos are insane, he's hoarding so much stuff in the background. When visiting the channel, sure enough, it's true. The channel's name is just LPC, and as we can see, there are no videos here. There are an assortment of playlists, but of course, the community posts are what are noteworthy here. Honestly, the description of the Reddit post does not do this channel justice at all. As you keep scrolling, there are so many creations just like this. If anything, they only get more complex. Some of these are honestly just fascinating to look at. There's a type of symmetry to this all, and it just begs the question, where did he get this many matching electronics from? Something that also becomes more noticeable the more you scroll these posts are his descriptions, which don't seem to make much sense. Lots of these descriptions seem to mention tastes, aftertastes, and textures. One of them says, This is why Simon Cowell telepathy cannot brainwash me. The sheer amount of different structures and patterns created here is kinda shocking. It took me a long time to scroll down to the bottom. There are hundreds of different posts. But when I got back to the beginning, this seems to have only begun about 2 years ago. The patterns in these older posts are much smaller in scale, but give us a tiny hint as to this person's possible living conditions. Even in these old posts, there seems to be quite a bit of comments. Lots of them speak similar to how the poster does. It almost looks like an in-joke that I have no context for. A few of these early posts are text only with no references to his structures at all. These posts are borderline incomprehensible and makes me wonder if this is just a mentally ill person who happened to have found an audience. This would be far from the first time that has happened. It's completely unclear as to what the true story behind this creator is, but they, at the very least, seem to be a hoarder. Even outside of the insane pattern of matching electronics, many of these posts are full of sour cream packets, glove boxes, planters, containers, and so much more. There's even an image that shows a bunch of Blockbuster membership cards, as well as what appears to be a bunch of old phones, suggesting that this hoarding might have been going on for a really long time. These images just beg so many questions about this poster that we don't have the answer for. We still don't even know if he is actually tasting these candles or not, as none of the images actually show anything like that. This is definitely one of those channels that blurs the line between a possible joke or something more serious. LPC actually does reply to comments quite often, but as we can see, we aren't going to learn much through them. For now, LPC will remain as one of the true oddest discoveries that I have seen deep into YouTube. For our final post of the night, we're going to visit r/weird, where another incredibly strange note awaits us. In 2013, I moved into my very first house. One day after moving in, I received this letter addressed to me by name. To this day, it still makes me laugh, but I have absolutely no idea who sent it. Chicken. Chicken, 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 chicken. I can't even imagine how I would react to this if this actually happened to me. I think the way it's so professionally formatted is what makes it so damn funny. As I scrolled through the comments, I definitely did not expect this. Finally, a chance to use my best images. You have no idea how long I've had this saved. Apparently, this is actually an old copy pasta that originates from 2007 from a software engineer at Google named Doug Zonker.
Here is Doug. Chicken.
The paper can be viewed online in full quality, and the only conclusion I can think to make here is chicken. Everyone has that thing. Whether it be a video, an image, or a movie that shook them to their core as a child. Something so terrifying the older you get, it still remains difficult to face. For my generation, it was these horrifying videos that made their way on our social media. There's plenty of iconic ones right here on YouTube that traumatized a generation.
God, what is that?
I was a very scared kid. I avoided horror movies like The Plague, but there was just something so alluring about internet horror. I found myself glued to creepypastas and creepy top 10s, yet there was one video that stood out among the rest. Call me dramatic, but there was one day I was home from school watching a top 10 creepiest YouTube video, and I was able to somewhat handle everything but this. Transfiguration. This isn't some deep web video, many of you have surely seen it before. There was just something about the way he moved and moaned that made me hurriedly shut my laptop. It has remained at my #1 spot for the scariest video I've ever seen on YouTube in my opinion, but where did it come from? Why? Why this? I'd like to face my fears and get into the details of the thing that terrified me more than anything else. This is Transfiguration. On October 23, 2008, the YouTube channel Olivier de Sagazan uploaded his first video onto the platform. The video was titled Performance Inspirée par Innominable de Samuel Beckett. I'm not a fluent French speaker, obviously, however, the title translates pretty simply to Performance Inspired by Samuel Beckett's Unnameable, of course based on Samuel Beckett's 1953 novel, The Unnameable.
Je sais pas. J'ai à parler. J'ai à parler n'ayant rien à dire, rien que les paroles des autres, ne sachant pas parler, ne voulant pas parler. Ils m'ont gonflé de leur voix comme un ballon, j'ai beau me vider, c'est toujours eux que j'entends. Non, il n'y a que moi ici.
The video is a surreal art house piece, presumably of de Sagazan running on a hamster wheel, crying covered in mud with strange pasted videos of an open mouth over top.
Je vais continuer! Je vais continuer!
This would be the first time we would see de Sagazan express his art on YouTube. The novel the performance is based on is a story about an unnamed narrator who is trapped, unable to move or communicate anything to the world beyond. The performance perfectly captures the strange narrative, de Sagazan portraying the unnameable running in place in a black room with nowhere to go. Only one day later, on October 24, 2008, de Sagazan would upload Who is Behind Our Face. This video, ironically not titled Transfiguration, is the video most tied to that title. In this video, we see de Sagazan cover himself in clay and slowly transform into monsters. It was this video that terrified me so long ago. Even now, I find this performance extremely uncomfortable to watch. I just have to wonder what de Sagazan's intention was with this performance. The description underneath the performance states, "Disfigurement in art is a way for us to escape from normopathy and become aware of the strangeness of our body in the world it inhabits." It's a very touching and overall profound message that's hidden in such a dark and primal performance. De Sagazan starts as a normal-looking man wearing glasses and a blazer. It is not until he starts to slather clay on his face when we see him become truly comfortable. He is free, unrestrained by the constraints set by society. He moans, he sways, he continues to evolve into increasingly horrific monsters. Art is a subjective matter, so I think it's time to get to the bottom of the man behind the clay and get a real understanding of his work and his transfiguration. Olivier de Sagazan was born in Brazzaville in the Republic of the Congo in 1959. Not much is known about de Sagazan's personal life after this. Sometime into his adult career, he became a biologist. In his own words, his inspiration to join the scientific field was, "I studied biology because I wanted to understand the logic of living things and to know what a body can do. It is always with this biologist's eye that I approached the question of painting and sculpture. I want when I make a sculpture that we feel a presence, as if it were a living being. In my head, a painting or a sculpture is like an active fetish, which must act on my nervous system." There are multiple types of biology, and unfortunately, it is unclear as to which branch of the field he was specifically in. The most likely guess would be something like human biology, human anatomy, or zoology. Based on his quote about why he enjoyed science, it's safe to assume his speciality dealt with living creatures on a macro scale, however, it is unknown. Around the early 1990s, de Sagazan left his formal sciences and began experimenting with art. His original work was done more traditionally than what we saw in the beginning, playing with paint and a canvas. Desagazon's early paintings very much resemble his work we are familiar with in the modern age. The pieces are abstract organic life forms that are twisted into unrecognizable slashes of biomass. Each stroke of paint is a wispy mess which all culminates into something very hard to look at. Desagazon mastered a difficult thing for artists, making people stop to take it in. His modern art is bolder, but these early paintings really make you stop and look at each detail. After a few seconds, the mask starts to show familiar shapes, a leg here, a ribcage there. The paintings beg you to take a second glance and to really consume what you're seeing. His use of gore is also very striking. Like the rest of the paintings, noticing the gore takes a little bit. Once you notice what you're looking at is or was something that resembled a human body, those flicks of bright red inform you that whatever it is bleeding or oozing something foul. Paintings like these really call to me. As someone hyper-invested in art and horror, it really calls to my eye. They feel like static nightmares. The early paintings' aesthetics sort of remind me of horror artist Mike Francina. Many of you might know Francina from franchises like Diablo and Trench Crusade. Specifically, Francina's work on demons from the Trench Crusade series feels eerily similar to Desagazon, twisted flesh and hemorrhaging orifices. Desagazon chooses beauty over shock in his early pieces, which I believe is his greatest asset in the sea of shock art in the mid-90s. Painting wasn't the only medium Desagazon wished to express himself in. Before the Transfiguration era, Desagazon was also familiarizing himself with sculpting. His earliest sculptures I could find are dated around 1994. These early pieces feature Desagazon's signature, a dissection of the human body. A lot of the early works are severed heads on sticks utilizing a plethora of different materials. Along with sculpting, Desagazon was still painting and moving away from his original style, taking a more textured approach. Perhaps influenced by his sculpting work, Desagazon started utilizing much more texture in his paintings, feeling less dreamlike and more grungy and real. As Desagazon mastered his craft, his sculptures became bolder. He started to use more natural materials, combining steel, straw, and hair in his work, giving his human forms an earthly appearance. A lot of his work pre-Transfiguration is more than worthwhile. It's striking and a little hard to look at, however, I highly suggest you visit his website and explore it for yourself. In 1998, Desagazon created what I would say is his magnum opus, a collision between his early paintings and sculptures and his need to live his art. His newest art piece would be unlike anything anyone had ever seen before it. If you thought his early years were bold, he was about to shake everything up. This piece, of course, is titled Transfiguration, the very same video we watched at the beginning and the one that started us down this rabbit hole. The process to transfiguration is simple. Desagazon sits down with a multitude of creative devices, including but not limited to clay, hair, sticks, and paint. With these materials, he slathers them on his body and transforms into men, animals, and monsters. To Desagazon, clay is the best outlet to transform in front of audiences. It's a malleable and quick way to become someone or something different in a matter of seconds. To him, it becomes almost like a second skin, where art and reality become merged in the mind of the viewer and the artist. To most, Transfiguration could easily feel like some very avant-garde performance piece, and on the surface, yes, it is, most definitely, but peeking behind the curtain gives us a much better perspective on the context of his art form. The performance comes from Desagazon begging to breathe real life into his art, and he figured that the best way to convey that would to become his own art. In his own words on Transfiguration, Desagazon opens up with this: "I am flabbergasted to see to what degree people think it's normal or even trite to be alive." Being alive is of course a classic canvas for exploring in art, but the way Desagazon dives into the subject matter is profoundly interesting. I don't think we really internalize how absurd being alive really is. Disagazan, obsessed with the matter, takes this absurdity to the extreme. The tribal display of the forms that Disagazan takes in Transfiguration are directly inspired by his upbringing in the Congo. Disagazan attributes these performances as being his own way to connect with the world, as he puts in his own words, "Art objects such as masks or fetishes, as well as certain dances, are acts of survival in order to connect with the spirits to ask their favor. I don't believe in spirits or other worlds, but conversely for me, a performance is a vital gesture, in that it represents a means to question my presence in the world." This upbringing in such a different culture affected Disagazan to his core. The Transfiguration performance has been performed in front of many Congolese communities, bringing the entire piece full circle. Transfiguration became an extremely popular performance, and Disagazan began performing it at art shows. It's a very effective performance behind a screen, but I can only imagine how visceral it would be to see live. Disagazan fights with himself the entire performance, gashing and slitting at the clay to create horrifying monsters. The transfer from Transfiguration back to reality feels like it would be a very difficult mental process, but as Disagazan puts it, returning to language happens quickly and naturally, without a doubt too fast, since it's followed by a feeling of great solitude, despite often receiving numerous thanks from the public. The inherent beauty of the Transfiguration performance is that it's never the same. Every single time Disagazan performs it live, the performance itself undergoes a transfiguration just like life. It is unclear as to an exact reason why Disagazan uploaded his first videos onto YouTube nearly 2 decades ago. Perhaps we don't need a solid answer and the obvious is correct. Just like any good artist, Disagazan wants as big of an audience as possible in order for his expression to make an impression on as many people as he can. I believe that this is the clearest reason as to why Disagazan started his own YouTube channel. I, however, don't think Disagazan expected the virality that he would receive from his performance. I am unable to find when this video really started to gain traction. For me, it's kind of always been in that creepy internet video zeitgeist. I think Transfiguration on its own amassed attention just because of how unique it is. One person found it, spread it around, and like clockwork, a viral video was born. Before writing this, I was completely unaware that Transfiguration became the visuals for a creepypasta titled Gateway of the Mind. I believe a huge amount of its popularity came from this creepypasta. The creepypasta is fairly basic from those old days. A group of scientists attempt to speak to God and use a man that they stripped all 5 senses from. By the end, the man goes insane and declares that God is dead and everything is bleak and horrible. Not the most creative thing in the entire world, but hey, it probably would have terrified me as a kid. Gateway of the Mind was uploaded to the Creepypasta Wiki in 2010, around the same time Jeff the Killer and Slenderman were both finding their stride. Originally, Transfiguration had absolutely nothing to do with the story until someone uploaded the story with Disagazan's performance as the background video of the man who went insane from the experiment around 2012. I think no matter what, Transfiguration would have been famous regardless of its ties to a creepypasta. The video and performance is just so visually striking and hard to watch, it was bound to find its audience on the internet or in the art world. Transfiguration mostly stands on its own, and I was unable to find any other loose ties to anything across the internet. Transfiguration opened up incredible doors for Disagazan. This bestial performance allowed him to become more comfortable and financially stable as an artist so he could continue to create. Disagazan lives an artist's dream, traveling the world and performing for adoring crowds. Transfiguration isn't the only thing Disagazan focuses on in the modern day either. He is very much still involved in painting and sculpting. His unique usage of clay gave birth to even more performances in the same vein as Transfiguration. Hybridation brings another person to become a living canvas as Disagazon and the other shape shift, combining their essence into one. Dance became part of Disagazon's artistry, which beautifully combines his macabre style with hypnotizing movement. In Hands Do Not Touch Your Precious Me, performers slathered in clay tell a tale of transformation with a beautifully choreographed show. Disagazon also dabbled in political protests using his art as well, ditching his usual nuanced message for a violently loud one. In Watchdog, Disagazon and a group of people barked in protest of the Front National Party, a far-right nationalist party in France. For 7 hours, these protesters barked, hoping to peacefully awaken the conscience in front of a polling station. Disagazon was harassed and questioned by authorities, but despite this, he protested twice more following the first one's success. In another politically charged protest, we see Disagazon horrifyingly return to his roots with "It is the citizen who is intimidated and not the delinquent." In the performance, Disagazon dons his ever-changing clay face and recites word for word a speech by French President Emmanuel Macron, all the while shifting and morphing with a clay visage. It is not only a beauty to create, but also to teach and share your expression with new artists. Disagazon was brimming with advice for new creatives on how to go through your own transfiguration with his 3-step masterclass. Step 1 is to transfigure alone, feel the clay and go through an artistic journey to understand yourself. Step 2 is to engage in hybridation with another and understand a living soul on a deeper level. Step 3 is to come together as a group and cover each other's skin, with multiple becoming one. One of Disagazon's most talented students is his own daughter, Zaho Disagazon. Zaho is an incredible singer and songwriter and has released 2 albums since 2023. It seems that an incredible artistic mind truly runs in this family. In a strange note, in 2025, Disagazon's YouTube channel was suspended. With the help of his daughter, Zaho, they were able to quickly get it reinstated. I can't imagine why it was removed since his art is very disturbing, however, it feels like another classic YouTube misstep. Thankfully, the channel was only gone for 1 month and is back yet again. At the end of all of this, it's hard to imagine that a childhood fear led me down such an interesting path. I of course still find these performances uncomfortable, but the context of this man's story has really helped me and hopefully you to appreciate the beauty of Disagazon's transfiguration. What once was a childhood fear is now a deep respect and understanding for one of my new favorite modern artists. Disagazon has been pushing the boundary of modern art for nearly 4 decades, and his passion hasn't seemed to dwindle at all. Personally, I think we all strive to have something that challenges us, inspires us, drives us, and sets us free in life. Disagazon found his, and I found mine with my love of writing and creating videos for you guys. Sometimes conquering your fears leads you to such a profound understanding such as this, and I guess in some way from the very first time I saw this performance until the time I typed this final sentence, I went through my very own transfiguration. With every passing day, our world changes. Buildings rise, populations grow, and technology advances. Over the last 80 years, there is one book that continues to stand the test of time, becoming more relevant with each passing day. 1984. A book so famous, simply saying its name is sure to invoke a reaction. Written by George Orwell in 1949, 1984 is a dystopian masterpiece that centers around a society in the distant future that is completely and utterly controlled and surveilled. The world building is immense, making for a foreboding, hopeless experience. This book's influence was all-encompassing. It got a theater adaptation, a television adaptation, a film adaptation, but never a video game adaptation. Or did it? In the late 1990s, it actually appeared that a video game based on the novel was actually greenlit and being created by a studio called Media X. In an archive of their website from 1996, it was announced that the company acquired the rights to produce an interactive entertainment title based on George Orwell's 1984, a game that was going to be titled Big Brother. This game would start where the novel ends, taking the user on a suspenseful and dangerous adventure through Orwell's world. The title will be designed to immerse users into Orwell's literary masterpiece in a fashion that provides the highest level of contemporary commercial entertainment. By incorporating proprietary single and multiplayer network/internet capability, Zeitgeist will place this title on the cutting edge of interactive entertainment. The article states that these rights were acquired from the Orwell estate for the company Newspeak by John Tarnoff. It is then stated that the interactive designer Douglas Gayton was commissioned to design and direct the title. Big Brother captures in the new media the compelling vision of institutional oppression that Orwell succeeded in making so poignant and timeless, commented company president Nancy Portner. Its message could not be more relevant to our young multimedia consumers than it is today. The title, which is scheduled to be released in the second half of 1997, will be supported by an extensive marketing campaign that will include book and music tie-ins and bundling. This article is just the beginning. In a computer game strategy issue from November of 1996, there was a section titled Big Brother. This issue reveals that the game was set to introduce us to a new original character named Eric Blair, which, funny enough, was actually George Orwell's real name. The protagonist will be a young proletarian soldier who has just returned from one of the endless wars waged by the Ingsoc Party. He must find his missing fiancée, who may have escaped to a place known as New Iberia. But does it exist at all? A sequel taking place soon after the events of the novel with a new character that must find his missing fiancée. That's definitely a choice. After that, it appears as if news about this supposed game went eerily silent. Despite Media X's proclamation that the game would be released in 1997, that never happened. It was not until the following year where things would change.
We shall prevail.
On May 28, 1998, the Big Brother game would receive its biggest update yet. Big Brother is Watching as Media X Core debuts real-time 3D gaming title based on George Orwell's literary work. This announcement, which also shared on Media X's old website, conveyed how excited the team was to transition this classic story into a video game setting. The mystery and intrigue found in the original book is something that lends itself to exciting and visionary gameplay. Combined with Media X's leading-edge real-time 3D graphic environment, this will make for an epic adventure for gamers to experience for themselves. The press statement states that the game would stand on its own and track the typical game audience while also undoubtedly attracting a large literary audience. In this game, Eric Blair returns to his homeland to discover a completely changed world dominated by the Thought Police. Eric must venture on a dangerous journey to search for his missing fiancée, who he had hoped to return to. What he finds is secretive behavior and strange happenings, leading him into a dangerous journey for the players to experience. The game was set in the first-person perspective and would feature 10 square blocks of Orwell's retro-futuristic world that you could navigate freely. The game would feature clues to follow, puzzles to solve, and real-time interaction with 3D characters during a time where 3D games were still a pretty new concept. While walking the real-time futuristic streets, you would find telescreens and intrusive cameras following and watching the player's every move. The game was set to feature over 20 dynamic levels. The end of the press statement tells us a little more about the developer Media X. They were founded just 2 years prior in 1996, and this was set to be their first video game. Up until this point, they had specialized in multimedia educational and entertainment titles, plus software tools. Their headquarters were in Culver City, California, with a digital production facility in Santa Cruz. Possibly the most important detail was reserved for the final sentence. At E3, Media X will be showing Big Brother in the Softcat booth. E3 E3, of course, was an annual video game expo where all the major developers would share what they've been working on, and this year there was a lot to share. 1998 was a legendary year for gaming. During this year's E3, Sega officially announced what would become their final console, the Dreamcast. A nearly finished version of the long-awaited Half-Life was shown, Duke Nukem Forever was showcased in video form, and then there was Nintendo. They announced the very first 3D Zelda game, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, a game that is still heralded as possibly being the greatest game ever made. Lost in this sea of major announcements was Media X's Big Brother. The game was finally announced in a widespread fashion. Unfortunately, it doesn't appear that we have any footage of what this announcement looked like, but we do have a multitude of articles and outlets that documented it. HappyPuppy.com was a popular gaming website at the time that featured walkthroughs, reviews, and more. It also appears that they witnessed this E3 announcement. In the originality column, we saw a very well-executed demo of Big Brother, set to ship in September. Based entirely on the book 1984, the game is a first-person adventure. Definitely not a shooter, though, with no shortage of action, where the player has to dodge Big Brother's relentless scrutiny as he or she tries to get indoctrinated into the resistance. Very creepy in a late 40s kind of way, complete with steam-powered robots. The Media X development team is doing a great job at creating a mood that honors the book. Watch out for this one if you're an adventure fan who's more into puzzle solving and dramatic tension than combat. Wait, steam-powered robots? There was also an article from Game Week that shared further information about this Big Brother project. This article reinforces a lot of the details that Media X's original press announcement shared, such as it being in first person, featuring a fully interactive world, and featuring the original character Eric Blair. However, there were also some notable new details shared. This time it mentions that the player is on a quest to join the Hacker Underground, who are a group intent on overthrowing Big Brother. According to Media X, the game combines the detail of Riven into the real-time world of Quake, making it a unique and stimulating gaming experience that will appeal to all gamers. It then references Media X's president, Nancy Portner, who believes that in order to prosper in the competitive interactive entertainment industry, it was important for their company to keep costs down by doing everything in-house. We created a vertical model whereby we would have the original content, development, marketing, and distribution in-house. By doing this, we would have a better chance of winning. In lieu of this statement, the game's price tag was revealed, an affordable $29.95. The article ends by stating that Big Brother is 70% completed and will be released in the fall. This 1984 game sounds fascinating and was being built up as a groundbreaking yet affordable title. However, with the company's lack of experience in this field, I did find myself questioning what this game would really be like. I have no idea what the general public perception of this title was when it was announced beyond these few surviving articles. Based on some of the new details shared, I was really curious about how faithful this title would be to the feel and tone of the original book. In July of 1998, Newspeak.com had a large section of its website dedicated to this Big Brother video game. Being the parent company, this article sought to help people understand more about this game and why it was being created. In the process, it also illustrates the production problems that seem to have been occurring. In the What Are We Doing section, it immediately starts by stating that setting up this project was a bigger chore than they initially expected. It also says that the idea was not to adapt the book into a video game, but to create an interactive new story with a new set of characters set in Orwell's world. Writer/director Douglas Gayton created the basic story as well as a new cast of characters. Newspeak was very impressed. Sadly, there was a CD-ROM market collapse and publishers were all of a sudden unsure of what they wanted to do or how much they wanted to spend. According to Newspeak, while everyone knew 1984, we think that the title appeared to be a bit too dark and/or sophisticated. Then they state that a new publisher stepped up to the plate, Media X. They state that the game is now set to release in the third quarter of 1998, just like the E3 announcement. The game had become a real-time 3D adventure game incorporating all the paranoid suspense of Orwell's world into a playable, absorbing, and entertaining game. It then states that the game was produced by Media X principal Matt McLaurin and designed by Michael Moore. Judging by this final sentence, it seems that they had high hopes. There was also a Why 1984 section. The answer was because of just how well known it was. Beyond just that, they stated that the target audience for the CD-ROM game is identical to the pre-sold audience newly familiar with the book, teenagers and young adults. This target audience has also proven to gravitate towards futuristic science fiction and utopian fiction that is the staple of the computer game business. As a genre, science fiction and science fantasy have captured the minds of the post-World War II generations as the perfect reflection of the speed of technological change from the nuclear age to spaceflight to genetic engineering. Sadly, despite the statement that this video game was set to release in the fall, it never did. The next mention of this game's existence I could find was from December of 1998, a few months after the game was supposed to have hit shelves. Next Generation magazine featured a page all about Big Brother. Before even reading its contents, this magazine is incredibly notable for finally showing us images from the actual game. The magazine describes this game as featuring a real-time 3D engine with a combination of inventory, slider, and Mario-style environment puzzles. Below this, it states that the game would feature 12 levels with hundreds of puzzles to solve. Originally, it was supposed to feature 60 levels, but early playtesting indicated that each level took about 5 hours. There is a section dedicated to this game's cutting-edge graphics, and I know, obviously, this seems funny today, but for the time, it honestly didn't look too bad. Of course, Big Brother is always watching. There's a multitude of player cards, including Eric Blair himself, where it states that the game would have an emphasis on facial expressions during these character interactions. Let's get back to the text though, because there is another important detail that was shared here. This time it has to do with the game's plot. The plot is slightly different from that of 1984 with a corrupt regime that's crumbling even more than in the book. The disintegration has carried over well, think crumbling brick buildings and steam vents. For those like me that may have wondered how the player could so freely traverse the world that George Orwell created, we are given our answer. The regime is collapsing. Finally, perhaps most notably, we are given a new release date, the first quarter of 1999. In March of 1999, a PC Zone issue had a section all about the upcoming Big Brother game. This section finally gives us the name of Eric's fiancée, Emma, who may or may not have been whisked away by the thought police for terminal mind scrubbing. This magazine doesn't really provide us with much new information, but perhaps it meant that the game was almost ready for release. Then again, it also provided no release date. At around the same time, the next mention of Big Brother was shared. The Satellite Awards are an annual award ceremony by the International Press Academy, which still remains active to this day. 1999 would be just their third award ceremony, and MediaX took 2 awards home. For Best Interactive Product / CD-ROM Educational, MediaX's Peter Norton PC Guru won. Then for Best Interactive Product / CD-ROM Educational Game, Big Brother was proclaimed as the winner. You'd think that this major win would come with more press, more announcements, and more hype, but it didn't. That excerpt was the final time any details about this game were ever shared with the public. Well, at least I thought it was. So far, I've almost exclusively used the Lost Media Wiki for information about this elusive 1984 game, since it seems that a few users did a pretty dedicated deep dive into Big Brother, but I wanted to do some searching of my own. Upon searching some of the keywords related to this game, such as 1984 game, Big Brother, and MediaX, I eventually found a Russian Wikipedia entry about the game. I expected it to share the same information from the Lost Media Wiki, but it didn't. What I found was an archive from Game World Navigator, a Russian video game magazine. In their edition from March of 1999, somebody actually reviewed the game. Well, he reviewed footage of the game he had seen. The reviewer describes the general plot pretty similarly to what we know by this point. Eric Blair's fiancée is missing, and so you, the player, must find her in a crumbling, totalitarian regime. The reviewer says that the plot of the game has pretty much nothing to do with the original novel, however, the atmosphere of the book had been recreated in all of its glory. The author compares the gameplay to the Blade Runner game that released in 1997. The author does say that Big Brother is still a quest game with all the necessary attributes: inventory, puzzles, the ability to chat up anyone and everyone, plus real-time dynamic events and a carefully crafted world that's almost RPG-like. Then he says that according to the developers, it will be completely interactive, which we've heard before. The author ponders the possibilities of something like this by saying, "Just imagine, you'll be able to take, move, rotate, turn on or off everything within your field of vision. Want to climb a tree and survey the surroundings from there? No problem. Feel like smashing shop windows? Be my guest." I find it notable that he references this aspect by citing the developers. It means that whatever version he saw did not feature these abilities yet, or else I imagine he would have described it differently. He then states that when interacting with other characters, the player's karma will be taken into account, comparing it to Fallout. He says that some sort of bar will reflect how citizens feel about you. He says that if you play the role of a law-abiding goody two-shoes, the hero will be able to obtain information from regime supporters. If you don't, you can expect full understanding from those dissatisfied with the current state of affairs. However, he also states that in conversations, you'll need to be extremely cautious and not too open with everyone you meet, because you could very well be reported to the police. The reviewer states that the plot will probably be non-linear, but that this hasn't been stated anywhere. He just hopes for multiple endings, because if not, what would all this karma and interactivity be for? What an interesting read. This is the first source that gives info about just how interactive and detailed this game was supposed to be, with these mentions of karma and information gathering not appearing in any other readily available source to my knowledge. The idea of needing to stay guarded while interacting with any and everybody is very interesting. At the same time, it raises even more questions. Sadly, but maybe predictably at this point, the year 1999 went by without any release for this Big Brother game. That means that our journey must end here, right? Well, not exactly. It appears as though the game was never advertised to the public again, but there were a few more references to it on the far reaches of the internet that give us a clue as to its fate. Somebody on the Lost Media Wiki was actually able to track down an archive of Media X Corps' quarterly/transition reports from 1999. This report states that Media X had invested $240,160 into Big Brother during the year 1999, as compared to $8,566 for the comparable period last year. The change is primarily attributable to the increase in deferred software development costs for Big Brother and purchases of fixed assets. Based on all of the information we now have, it seems very clear that Media X bit off a lot more than they could chew. On Newspeak's website in 2000, they state that the game was now looking to be published in early 2000. However, if you look at an archive of this very same website just a year later, the seemingly inevitable news struck. Big Brother, a real-time 3D adventure title based on a design by Douglas Gayton, was in development. However, the game's original publisher, Media X Corporation, has lost its rights to the title, and Newspeak is currently in discussion with other publishers about picking up the game, which is currently in alpha. This seems to be the final lead related to this game online. Big Brother, the video game adaptation of 1984, would never see the light of day, becoming lost media. Despite this, these sources paint a very clear picture as to what happened here. This game was riddled by development issues from the very start and was being designed by a team that lacked relevant experience. The costs got way out of hand, all for a product that really didn't appear to be a guaranteed success. Newspeak moved on from Media X, and no publisher picked up the game after this. They did state that the game was 70% completed though. We have many images from it, knowledge that people did test it, and even at the end, Newspeak mentioned that the game was an alpha, which means that there must have been a playable version of it out there. The question now is it still out there? Just a few years ago in 2021, it appeared that a search formally began to find the lost 1984 game. One of the founders of Media X was contacted, as well as the game's art director, but unfortunately, these leads did not go anywhere. It was during this time when the majority of the sources shown in this video were unearthed and discovered. Then, on March 1st, 2025, something shocking happened. It was suddenly uploaded onto the Internet Archive. When visiting the link, we are met with a CD that says, Big Bro, January 4th, 1999. There is also a description to accompany it. Big Brother is an unreleased game developed by Media X between 1996 and 1999. It was a pseudo-sequel to George Orwell's book 1984 and endorsed by Orwell's estate. Media X would cease updates on the development of the game in late 1999 and would shut down altogether in 2005. This build is an alpha demo build from January 4th, 1999. The question that immediately popped into my head was, is this legitimate? And it is. Shed Troll himself actually uploaded a playthrough of this build on YouTube. We get a brief look at the game's main menu and then a cutscene.
Eric, the Thought Police have been tracking down our Brotherhood leaders in hopes of destroying our resistance movement. We have only a few hours left. We must do something to get the police off our trail. As a mini-pack soldier, you should be able to get into the Ministry and create a diversion. The bigger the distraction you can create, the better. One of our cell leaders has already infiltrated the Ministry of Peace and left a package for you there. There should also be instructions on what to do. The fate of the Brotherhood leadership is in your hands, Eric. Don't fail us, or we're all doomed.
I find it pretty notable that there is no reference to Eric's fiancée in this cutscene. After this, we can finally see its graphics and gameplay in genuine action. What was the 1984 game actually like? Unfortunately, due to this game's age as well as some other factors, it's really difficult to get this build running on a modern day PC, and most of the comments state that they got an error when trying to play it. Sadly, this was also true for me. Unfortunately, the gameplay we are given is pretty much just walking and searching for things. However, the atmosphere does feel somewhat foreboding and ominous. Although that's probably because of the lack of music and any sort of life. This level features none of the interactive elements that were described, since you're entirely isolated here. You find memos, use a screwdriver, navigate elevators, and unlock doors. At a few points, you can see the iconic War is Peace slogan as well as the watchful eyes of Big Brother. Supposedly, the demo builds to a sequence where you have to put on a zero-G suit before planting a bomb inside a zero-gravity training sphere guarded by robots. A few articles online do have reviews of the game, with one blog featuring some screenshots I haven't seen anywhere else online. This review describes the game as feeling out of place. Many people have pointed out that this demo really doesn't seem to represent the world of 1984 very well, outside of the presence of Big Brother and some slogans. Its themes of rebellion and finding your fiancé further stray this game from the world of 1984. Rather than exploring the psychological and philosophical elements that made 1984 so powerful, Big Brother transforms the setting into a backdrop for puzzles involving water pressure and elevator timing. The rebellion storyline and fiancé rescue mission have more in common with Die Hard than Orwell's bleak commentary on totalitarianism. The review describes puzzles as ranging from inscrutable to physically impossible. It's also stated that every time you die, you are met with, "You have been re-educated" screen. It seemed to be a pretty disappointing and frustrating affair. With its early 1999 gameplay finally being shown as well as its troubling production history, it seems very clear why this game was ultimately cancelled, but that doesn't make it any less fascinating. The entire reason I became so interested in this game was simply the concept of adapting 1984 into a video game in the first place. I was just so interested in seeing what that would look like, especially during the late 90s. Ultimately, the ideas we are presented with are certainly confusing. At the same time, elements such as a karma system in such a controlled world with no real sense of trust is really intriguing to me. The biggest question I'm left with throughout this all is, could 1984 really work as a game? Among all the comments I saw while diving into this lost game, that seems to be a pretty major discussion point. The entire point of the book was to showcase a world that was too far gone, a dystopian world where humans have a complete lack of agency. Video games aren't like that though, because all you have is agency. There are games like BioShock that create commentary based on that very concept of agency in a video game, but here they decided to change Orwell's vision in order to create a sequel with a new story. Perhaps they realized that adapting the book directly would be impossible based on its world. Whatever the case, instead of featuring a world that is too far gone, now the government is crumbling. In the novel, a romantic connection was in direct conflict to the control of the party, perhaps being Winston and Julia's primary form of resistance. That's why here, with a government that is collapsing, an environment that you could clearly freely think in, an active rebellion, and a plot revolving around finding your fiancé, it just doesn't really feel like the book. Even if a more experienced team decided to create a game based on the novel, I wonder if or how that would work, and I kind of want to leave that question for you guys. Do you think 1984 could work as a video game at all? Or is it fundamentally impossible? If you were in charge of making a 1984 video game, what would its story be like? How would it play? I know that for me, when I first thought of what a 1984 game would be like upon initially discovering this mystery, I pictured something much more like the adaptation of I Have No Mouth and Must Scream, a dark, dystopian point-and-click game with an emphasis on atmosphere that remains hopelessly bleak, just like the source material. Is that what you imagined, or did you think of something entirely different? Definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. Until then, I will be watching. A little while back, I talked about the connection Jeffrey Epstein had to the website 4chan. After directly getting into contact with the creator of the website, the political board opened, which changed online discourse forever. Due to that connection, many people began speculating if a lot of the modern political climate was simply manufactured. But what if I told you it didn't end there? Recently, I've seen a bunch of people talking about how his partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, was secretly controlling discourse in her own way, but on Reddit. Instead of fueling right-wing extremism, it was left-wing extremism. Is it possible that the entirety of our online political climate was nothing more than a distraction? Let's find out. This theory all comes down to a Reddit account named Maxwell Hill. You see, this was not a normal Reddit account by any means. This Redditor has been an extremely active user since all the way back in 2006, and has posted a bunch of news. The posts were almost always links of some news story, and they would reply to a lot of people in the comments. A lot of the account's notoriety comes from the fact that they became a moderator of r/politics, r/world news, and r/technology, some of the most major subreddits on the entire platform. When I said they posted a lot, I was not kidding. This account posted almost every single day, many times, and these posts would often center around politics, usually linking an article about a particular subject. Except due to the influence this Redditor had, these posts would almost always reach the front page, becoming highly upvoted, often being some of the largest posts each and every day. These factors have had people theorizing about the account for years. I found a thread from 9 years ago of somebody asking if Maxwell Hill was a paid poster, because of just how often their posts would reach the front page. The user even describes their posts as all being political in nature and definitely being one-sided. They even mention how this Reddit account became the very first to reach 1 million karma. More and more people began wondering if this account had some sort of agenda, especially since these subreddits that they moderated were some of the default subreddits that you could automatically be subscribed to. So a new user that just joined Reddit could instantly see their posts with their perceived agendas. At this point you may be wondering, besides the name, how is this account linked to Ghislaine Maxwell at all? Well, on July 2nd, Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, and at this exact time, u/Maxwell Hill stopped posting to Reddit. This would be a remarkable coincidence, unless it wasn't one. Almost instantly, this theory began spreading on sites like 4chan and of course Reddit. An account that was so active every single day for so many years just conveniently stopped posting right when Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested. Furthermore, I've seen a ton of people mentioning that a new batch of Epstein files confirmed these theories even further, as this Reddit account was mentioned in them. Journalist Brian Romilly made an article about this on Twitter where he argued that this user's posts were being used to train AI models, and that the Epstein files prove it. FBI notes, emails, and evidentiary documents explicitly tie the account to Maxwell through IP addresses, writing styles, and content alignments with her known activities. The files detail how this moderation was used to curate narratives, promoting certain topics while burying others, potentially as part of broader influence efforts. However, he never actually links where in the Epstein files this was proven. That didn't seem to matter though. Now this theory is larger than ever before. Since Romilly was not the only one I saw that mentioned that the Epstein files revealed this information, I assumed that they must be mentioned there somewhere, and after some digging, I found it. This file details somebody who submitted an online tip to the FBI about u/Maxwell Hill. u/Maxwell Hill made posts until the arrests of Ghislaine Maxwell on July 2nd, 2020, whereby all postings stopped. u/Maxwell Hill has gaps in postings surrounding the death of Ghislaine Maxwell's mother, Elizabeth Maxwell. u/Maxwell Hill served as an influential moderator for many subreddits and accumulated 14,993,132 karma since March 11th, 2016. Below this are a few posts that u/Maxwell Hill had made that were seen as really alarming. These posts surround a few articles about CP and allegedly normalizing it. The files don't provide much more information than that, but they still cause the internet to go into a frenzy. This Reddit account was important enough to be directly mentioned in the Epstein files. What could that mean? While these details are certainly interesting, I have to note that there hasn't been any information that has definitively proved this connection at all. Obviously, the user's last name is Maxwell, which has been cited as a small piece of evidence proving the connection, but that isn't nearly enough. What is enough for most people, though, is the user's post history. The fact that there were posts almost every single day with just small gaps that lined up with important events in Ghislaine's life. Most suspicious of all was, of course, when the posts stopped, precisely when the real Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested. But that actually might not be true. First off, let's break down the pauses in posts during these important time frames. There's really only two separate instances that seem to be commonly brought up here for important events that coincided with the Reddit account going silent: the death of her mother and the arrest of Jeffrey Epstein. Now, it is actually true that there were gaps in posts during these time frames. However, does that really prove that this is the same person? During my research, I actually found an excellent article about these theories that compiled a list of so-called big events in Ghislaine Maxwell's life. The article correctly asked the question, what even counts as a big event? Ghislaine was a notable public figure who attended dozens of public events a year where she was photographed. Surely those would count too, right? Luckily, this can help us build a rough timeline. The author of this article actually created an entire spreadsheet of Ghislaine's public appearances in order to test out how true this theory is. As it turns out, the theory begins falling apart. Certain days where she was at public events had the Maxwell Hill account posting 30, 37, and 39 times. Meanwhile, there was a day where Ghislaine was confirmed to be hanging around her house, and the Reddit user made 0 posts that day. As I looked through the spreadsheet, there's no clear pattern that emerges here, showing us that it's quite unlikely that this Reddit user was really Ghislaine Maxwell. But what about that arrest time frame? This is the biggest piece of the theory and what caused it to explode in popularity. Well, this detail may not be true either. There are actually screenshots circulating that show some activity from after this arrest date. This screenshot, supposedly from July 9th, shows Maxwell Hill interacting with another moderator, directly talking about the theory. The exchange shows that Maxwell Hill was very aware of these rumors and was getting a lot of messages, and was asked by u/Hasharon if they could share this exchange, who then posted it. There is another screenshot that shows Maxwell Hill being active inside of a private subreddit, further showing that this really does appear to just be a Reddit user, not Ghislaine Maxwell. It is important for me to note that these are just screenshots, and it's hard for me to find the sources of them because a lot of the posts have been deleted. To the conspiracy theorists who believe in this theory, this is likely further proof to them that foul play is happening. Realistically, their intensity and their accusations are probably why a lot of these posts and comments have been deleted. That's allegedly what happened to u/Hasharon's Twitter, which was where the first screenshot was originally posted. I believe this could also potentially explain why Maxwell Hill disappeared soon after the arrest date. After getting repeatedly spammed with horrible accusations to no end, it was probably best to finally leave the platform. There are some other, smaller bits of proof that theorists believe show that the user was really Ghislaine Maxwell, such as this comment here where they state that their birthday was in December, just like the real Ghislaine Maxwell. Users have also found out that both Ghislaine Maxwell and Maxwell Hill were interested in environmentalism. These of course don't really prove the connection either. Maxwell Hill posted so often that there's bound to be at least some overlap. It's always important to remember that with such disturbing individuals such as Ghislaine Maxwell, it is easier than ever for reactionary misinformation to be spread. This theory, when combined with the Jeffrey Epstein 4chan theory, creates a narrative that both the online right and the left have been completely manufactured. At least with the Jeffrey Epstein theory, there is verifiable proof that he met the founder of 4chan and that poll was created soon after, but there really isn't even a solid connection here. Maybe that'll change someday, but for now, the proof that Maxwell Hill was Ghislaine Maxwell is incredibly improbable. The worst part about all of this is, none of these theories had to be true in order to recognize how much of what we read and what we are told from politicians and public figures is nothing more than a distraction. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, make sure to like the video and subscribe. If you like the channel, make sure to check out our social medias, they're both in the description below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like the video and subscribe. If you like the channel, make sure to check out both of our social medias, they're both linked in the description below. Make sure to stop by our Discord, it really is the best place to chat with us and hang with fellow debunk enthusiasts. Of course, if you'd like to support the channel a little bit more, please head over to our Patreon Debunk Plus. For only $1 a month, you guys get access to videos early, script PDFs, whatever random stuff we decide to put up, and more. As always, my name is Sep from Debunk File. See you guys next time.